Allegiance. If you'd all please rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Item 1.02, order and approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. On to item 1.03, recognition of Elko County School District Spelling Bee winners. Right off the bat, is that Mrs. Brown, I believe? Yes. Thank you. We make sure that's turned on. The green light should be on.
It's not on. Oh, there it is.
There you go.
I'm Candace Brown. I work at Spring Creek Middle School. I've been doing the District B for probably 4 years now, maybe. And it just keeps getting better. So this year we changed it up a little bit where they included the top runner-up from K-5. And I had some 3rd and 4th graders on there that stood up and did an amazing job. And then it went 6th, 7th, and 8th. So with that being said, my K-5, I think he's in 5th grade, is Elijah Broach from Flagview.
Why don't you go ahead and come on, stand up here by the podium. And then, yeah, hang out here, and as soon as we get everybody up, we'll
You
shake
want
all
to
your
spell
hands
your
and get a picture.
winning word? Exaggerate?
Exaggerate. E-X-A-G-G-E-R-A-T-E.
Good job.
There you go.
All right, good job. And my 6th grade winner is Mavis Medlock from Spring Creek Middle School. I can't even talk. Come on up. You want to do it? I'm going to give you agenda.
Sure.
Go.
Agenda. A-G-E-N-D-A. Agenda.
Okay.
And for 7th grade from Adobe is Andrew Garcia. Good job. There you go. Don't spell your word.
Sure.
Allergenic.
A-L-L-E-R-G-E-N-I-C.
Good. Even though I have to do it. And for the 8th grade, we kind of had to improvise a little bit. So my top winner is Anakin Retzloff from Spring Creek Middle School, but he was unable to attend state. I don't know, Anakin, are you here? Come on up. What's your word? Was this your word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Septum. S-E-P-T-U-M.
There you go.
And with that being said, he's unable to attend state, so we took our runner-up, who is also from Spring Creek Middle School, is Colton Webb.
Colton.
And he gets to go to state, which is in Vegas, the 27th? 28th at Bishop Gorman. So congratulations. You want to spell your word? Mortician?
Mortician. M-O-R-T-I-C-I-A-N.
Good job. So here are your district leads to present us at state. So thank you.
That is awesome. Now, we would love to wish you well, first of all, on state. But if you'd like to come around and start on this end, we'd all love to shake your hand. And then as you go out through this back door, and we'll get a picture of you back in the hall.
Good pictures.
Good job. Yeah, good job. It's too good at state. Good luck at state. Good luck. Too bad you can't make it next year, maybe. Good luck at state. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Oh.
I know. Didn't work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Oh, well, okay. I got 2 more years.
All right. That's awesome. That looks like we're going to have some great representation at the state competition. So good luck to everybody. Thank you. Moving on now to 1.04, recognition of winter sports state champions, state runners up, and all state recipients. So what I'm going to do here is call y'all up by teams. You'll gather just like these kids did, and then come around. We'll shake your hand, and then they'll do a picture out in the hallway. So let's start out with Elko High School wrestling. We've got Cody Goss. He's the 157-pound state champion. Nelson, the 106-pound state champion. Hagen Robinson, the 175-pound runner-up. Hubert Sharp, the 285-pound runner-up. Not least, Sailor Wendell, the Northern Nevada Wrestler of the Year. There you are. Hey, congratulations, y'all. If you all like to come around, and we'd love to shake your hand, and then they'll get a picture out in the hall. Congrats, good job. Congratulations, sir. Good job. Good job, man. Well done. Nice work. Well done. All right, next I've got one from Spring Creek High School Wrestling, Colton Cunningham. He's the 165-pound runner-up. Colton, just go ahead. Way to go, Colton. Way to represent. Way to go, Colton. All right, and from Wells High School Wrestling, Johnny Glasscock is the 132-pound state champion, and Gage Ulig is the 165-pound runner-up. Are they here with us today? Let's give them a hand anyway. We'll get those certificates out to them. Now, here's okay, we got Elko High School Girls Basketball All-State Academic Runners-Up. We got Yareli Cortez, Jillian Kerwin, Janessa Gata, Zoe Haskin, Shelby Hereford, Ivy League, Juliissa Rivera, Vanessa Romero, Zayden Sirotek, Allison Steenson, Jessica Vera, and Sasha Vera. That's our... Way to represent. Good job. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Excellent work. Keep it up. Thank you. All right, next up, we've got the Spring Creek High School Boys Basketball All-State Academic Runners-Up. And lots of names here, too. We've got Nathan Billett, Nolan Francis, Tyler Hope, Crux Howard, Quentin Jones, Brune June Udita Dennis. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Landon Lewis Ganot, Carson Perkins, Ryan Roberts, Hudson Sorensen, Snowden Williams, Noah Youngblood, and Gabriel Zuberia. Come on around, guys. What's that? Coaches, too, if I missed anybody, come on up, too. I'd like to shake your hand, too. Good job. Thank you. Way to go. Good job. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Keep it up, man. Good job. Congrats. Congrats. Congratulations. Yeah. All right, and at this point, we're going to hold up for a second. We are going to move some people around because we have the Elko High School Girls Spirit All-State Runners-Up over in Overflow. Yeah, this is a big list. I love seeing it, too. That's great. We're getting this kind of recognition. Kids work hard. How's that? All right, we will go on ahead. Let me read that out again. Yeah, we're on the Elko High School Girls Spirit All-State Runners-Up. Lots of names here. As I call you, what I'm gonna have you do is just kind of gather up front as I call you, and then as soon as we're done, we're all gonna clap for you, and we'd all love to shake your hands too. So let's start with Orly Alcorta, Adeline Ayala, Emmy Block, Bentley Brown, Mallory Brown, Emily Burnham, Genevieve Burwell, Kristen Callister, Zoe Carone, Deanna Castaneda, Michaela Flanagan, Ella Foss, Mackenzie Frazier, Scarlett Golding, Jaslyn Hackworth, Ava Hansen, Elise Krantz, Emma Leach, McKelly Levy, Mariah Lopez, Isabella Lopez Placencia, Sophie Lozano, Kaylee Luna Alvarado, Allison Martin, Natalia McKnight, Daytona Monet, Kiara Oros, Emma Peterson, Carolina Quintero, Yvette Quintero, Ava Curaz, Madeline Robinson, Miranda Rosales, Pamela Sandoval, Marley Simons, Catherine Wallace, Haley Warner, and Emerson Wendell. That is amazing. What a list. Way to go, everybody. If you'd like, please come around. Starting this way, we'd love to shake your hand, and then we're going to have you back out in the hall there for a picture. And the coach, Kim McKnight, you come through too, please. Thank you. Congratulations. Good job. It's a great list. Awesome. Congrats. Congratulations. Thank you. Congrats. Congrats. Congratulations. Good job. Keep it up. Yeah, way to go. Awesome. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Keep it up. Way to go. Congratulations. Congrats. Thank you. Congratulations. Congrats. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for work. This is such a great list. All right, let me get caught up here on my agenda. What a great group of students there. That was awesome. Now we're moving on to item 1.05, recognition of the NIAA Athletic Secretary of the Year recipient, Kara Niman. What's that? Niman. Well deserved. My fault.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
That's awesome.
I can, but you guys got a lot of stuff tonight.
No, we'd love to hear it.
Not very good at microphones, but
All right, well, thank
she
you.
is the best.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, please go. Don't hold it for me.
We'll get there, Matt. Yeah, I can be reading right here. That moves us on to item 1.06, items from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested not to raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. A speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. At this point, I will take public comment. I do have one from Easton. Is that, do you want to, is this regarding budget? Or is this just on your school?
For my school.
I will go ahead and open up the floor to Easton Williams. Go ahead and step up to the podium. You'll move that microphone down if you like and make sure it's green. There you go. That works.
Hi, my name is Easton Williams. I am a third grader at grammar number 2. I'm here because I want to tell you how much I love my school and the teachers. The teachers are kind and dedicated to the students. Please don't forget about us students when we make your decisions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Easton. Is there anyone else that wishes to make public comment? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Moving on to item 3.01, receipt, discussion, and possible approval of accounts payable.
Motion to approve accounts payable. And do I need to put the reference in there too? And reference 2/19/2026 and 2/26/2026. Can we do them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion or disclosures?
Okay, I'll disclose that I have a family relative that works for Wells Rural Electric, but I won't be abstaining from voting.
And I have the same disclosure. I have a family member who is employed by Wells Rural Electric, but I will not be abstaining.
And I am a member of the Elko County Reading Council, but I'm not going to abstain.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, moving on to item 4.01, receipt, review, and possible permission to apply for fiscal year 27 grants for possible action.
All right. I don't see Megan in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and take this. But so this is an annual action that we have to participate in order for someone to apply for grants on behalf of our school district. The board has to grant that to someone, and typically that is granted to our grants coordinator, not to use the word grant too much, but it is that time of year where we start to look at that for grants for the FY27 year. And so this is simply to seek your approval for our grants manager and family and community engagement coordinator, Megan Cox, to be granted approval to apply for grants on behalf of our district.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve permission to apply for FY27 grants and just add that I hope we get a whole bunch.
Second,
Are we,
Heartedly.
more than a whole bunch.
we have a motion and a second there. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Moving on to item 4.02, receipt, discussion, and possible action regarding proposed revisions to policy JJA, education records, privacy for possible action.
Thank you. This is a second read of this and was presented at our previous meeting. As a reminder, this is to come in compliance with the changes to Assembly Bill 6. And so we are seeking your permission to do that. This is regarding student privacy and information on directory and education records and what is accessible and not accessible to third-party requests for those items, as well as what we publish. So No additional edits were proposed from our last board meeting. Therefore, I have nothing additional at this time.
All
Mr.
right.
Chair, move to approve the changes to policy JJA as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye, and motion passes. Item 4.03, were we ready for that one? Are we?
Well, we didn't, I would say since we didn't table it, let's go through the
Motions, yeah.
motion of, and I'll just intro it. when we get
Okay,
there. Go
yeah,
ahead,
item
intro it.
4.03, receipt, discussion, and possible action regarding proposed revisions to policy JCBC, rights and responsibilities, investigations and searches, law enforcement access to students for possible action. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. So at our last meeting, we also had this as a first read. And again, similarly to the last policy we just looked at, this one is meant to come in compliance with the changes to NRS through Assembly Bill 4 from the most recent legislative session. At our last meeting, there were a fair number of suggestions and clarifications that you all asked about. And so the one that is titled Red 2, JCBC Red 2, does show in red those changes from from the last version to what we have now. So I guess two things to consider. Number one, if you've been able to review that, you can let me know if you have any suggestions for maybe did that capture what we were discussing. But I will say that overall, even though this is on the agenda, it says for possible action, I'm actually going to recommend that we not take any action on it tonight. In the last 24 hours or so, in conversations with our local law enforcement entities who we have a wonderful relationship with, we've discovered that maybe we need to fine tune it just a little more. So I do want to try to honor the changes that we talked about that you talked about as a board and we've worked on together, but also still leave some space for us to continue to collaborate with our partners on if there's anything else we have missed or need to think about to make this truly reflect what we do together, but also still be in compliance with NRS. So that is my intro and suggestion for how we proceed.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask a clarifying question. Mr. Anderson, at the very beginning, we've defined that LEO does not include our SROs. Law enforcement officer does not include our school resource officers. And when I had indicated something in regards to that, I was looking more at the access, that I wanted to make sure that obviously our SROs were not being prevented under this policy from having the access that they need to do their duties. Under Section 4 interviews, I think we have another policy that deals with those interviews with SROs, correct? So I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a conflict there. And
Yep.
Mr. Gunter, one of our members of the public, indicated, hey, make sure you're not doing something you shouldn't be doing, or at least don't take away rights that are already given. So I wanted to just make sure that our SROs still fell under that guideline of it's not a police state,
Yeah.
but yet still give them the access that they need.
Yeah, so some insight into, because again, when we're looking at this policy, this is really meant, again, as the paragraph indicates, it's about a collaboration with law enforcement entities outside and how they have access to our schools and our students. Instead of delineating everything in policy for those versus what our SROs have, we have an MOU agreement with our sheriff's office and with our city police. And so what they as SROs are allowed to do or not allowed to do with their level of access to students based on their role as an SRO is dictated. And we're actually in the process of reevaluating that agreement at this time. And so as we're already making other edits, we're going to make sure to find areas to put sort of these same types of things in there and make sure it's clear that, yes, they have access to student information, but only for X type of circumstances and not for outside investigation. So there isn't a policy that's going to govern every little thing that our SROs do because we already have an outside agreement that dictates that, if that answers your question.
Thank you, it does. And the outside agreement is available to parents if they would like to see what access is allowed?
I mean, yeah, that agreement, whenever it's approved, has come before the board as an agendized item to make sure you're aware of it. So, yeah, it's available if anyone wants to see it. And again, full transparency, we are in the process of updating that right now. And so when that is finished, it will come before the board again for your review.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
move that we postpone this item until said time that the conversations that need to take place have taken place and it can come back before the board.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. We'll bring that back at a later date. All right, item 4.04, receipt, review, and discussion regarding superintendent recommendations for plan to address budget concerns. This is a non-action item. Superintendent Anderson?
Yep. So thank you. Been a busy 2 weeks since our last board meeting with obviously lots of things to consider and think about, and appreciate all the emails, the individual conversations, the texts, the phone calls, the running into people in random places throughout the community where lots of opinions, voices of support, and all those positive contributions to our collective need to get this under control and move forward for our students and our schools. And really appreciate the engagement from people. So tonight, I'm going to, this presentation that I'm going to give you is very specifically whoever's controlling the technology, if you could put that on the screens for people. Thank you. I'm just going to give you an update on where we are with my proposals from 2 weeks ago up to this point. Before I get too deep into each of those, it was kind of suggested at the last meeting, and then and some of kind of the comments and questions that people had made it clear that there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about, whose decision is it even to do some or all of these things. And so thought it might be helpful to give examples of that. So there are certain actions that take place with schools and with districts that are very much the responsibility of the board, whether that's through NRS or through policy created by the board. And then there are other things that are also very specifically not the board's responsibility and lie on the shoulders of management, which, and when I say management, I'm going to use that interchangeably for me, for my wonderful directors who are all sitting over there at the table, and the hardworking central office staff that we have to make those decisions. So I've categorized them here, and these encompass all of the not only the proposals that I had from last meeting, but also a couple of the non-proposals that I had that became very clear that a lot of people really thought they ought to be proposals, and so I've added them to my proposals now. My proposal list is fluid. There's a saying once that I heard that when the data changes, so does my opinion, and I very strongly feel that way. It should not be construed as wishy-washiness, rather as a willingness to adapt when the data changes for you as well. So there are some other things that are on there, and they are categorized in this way. I'm not a big fan of reading word by word things on PowerPoint slides, but you will see on the left-hand side among the proposals are basically everything on there falls under a couple of categories. One of those is if it's something that is going to reflect a change to a policy. I cannot do anything that is not in accordance with policy. So, for example, the reduction of rate of substitute pay is established in policy. So that is not something I or the district office can do without a change to policy by the school board. And the same goes for, for facility usage policies, for athletics participation policy, and changes to self-funded insurance plan. Those things all have policy requirements that go along with them. The next category that makes it a responsibility of the Board of Trustees is if it is something that is established by the board as a goal according to our strategic plan or board goals. And so that responsibility goes to the board since you were instrumental in establishing those. And I have essentially been tasked as a superintendent to carry out those goals. And so that would fall, that would apply to things such as ongoing textbook adoptions, ongoing Chromebook purchases, and yeah, those are those two. And then the other two that fit into their own categories is the proposal regarding the consolidation of fifth grade students in Elko to the Elko Elementary Schools away from Flagview Intermediate. That would represent what I would call a change of significant magnitude. And so if we're going to make something that is that significant of a change, then it ought to be duly agendized and talked about in public meetings and decision of the board to move forward with such a big change. And then the last one that is there is in a totally different category in my mind, and that is a significant change to any sort of budgeting strategy that we've had. And in this case, since we already paid for our textbook adoption for this year out of our general fund, to shift that over represents a $1.8 to $2 million change in how we allocated funds from a budgeting standpoint. So would seek your approval for something like that as well. The two little asterisks, just for information, in case the font there at the bottom right is a little tiny for you. Those first two on the Board of Trustees column are because those are both things that are agendized after my presentation for tonight. On the right-hand side, the check marks next to decreased annual incentive grant and middle school intramurals funded by donation means that those are already done. And I think they'll continue to show up on future presentations, but if it's got a check mark there, I'm probably not going to talk about it too much more. There have, again, been questions about why are we not talking about who's donated the money for the middle school intramurals, and that is because I do not have permission to do that. And I am supremely grateful for the philanthropy and the generosity of those entities. Maybe we'll find out in the future, but in any case, we're moving forward and that's exciting. The other things that you see there, I'll just go through them really quickly, have everything to do with decisions by management. And so anytime that we're looking at doing hiring freezes or reducing positions as a function of matching student enrollment, because our teaching and all of our positions in our district have to do with increased or decreased need based on enrollment. Those things those are annual processes. I will reiterate that it has been suggested that nothing has happened. I'm going to use nothing in quotations. Nothing has happened over the last 3 years in regard to this. And that's, I will say it again, that is false. We have positions that have been reduced over the last 2 to 3 years to go along with enrollment decreases. It just hasn't been enough. And so we are always adjusting based on enrollment, and we are going to continue to do so. And 0 hours are a function of same kind of idea, depending on student enrollment and demand for courses. And NVA expansion, and then you'll see the facility usage and the athletics participation. Those, you'll say, wait a minute, that was on the board side. And they were on the board side because there are policies that are connected to that. However, the fee structures that would go along with those changes to policy, if there were changes to policy, the fee structures would be decided by the school district management, and but we'll of course, when we get to that point, we'll share with the options with you. And then the last one, credit recovery plan and fee structure, would be a function of management as well. That is the wrong way. All right.
Just interrupt for just a minute. I just want to make sure I'm clear. The middle school intramurals is funded this year and then
Yeah.
3 more years after, right?
Yes, thank you for the clarification. So I've been saying 3 years, and I'm still comfortable saying yes. What I will say as a more clear, a clarification of the 3 years is the two entities asked how much does it cost to fund this for a year? And we said, well, right now it's costing this much to fund it for a year. So collectively, they gave us enough to get through the rest of this year and 3 more years at that cost. And so as costs go up, or if participation's up or down, costs can change. So we have the equivalent of the rest of this year and 3 more years worth of that number going forward.
And there's still plans, though, that eventually we need to work that into our budget?
Yes,
Can't rely on that.
correct. We'd like to work it
General.
back into the budget.
Okay.
I will say both of the entities also said, let's talk about it again in a couple of years and see where we are. And if it's something we want to continue to support, or if the district's in a position to do it themselves, or, so, yeah, we're going to reevaluate as we go along.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope, that's great. Oh, that's the wrong button. Okay, so regarding, and so these are updates on just where we are with these items. So regarding reductions in Chromebook expenditures, as I said before, this was part of one of the key outcomes of our strategic plan. The initial calculations, if we ran multiple scenarios, but if we had this initial calculation of going to one set of Chromebooks for every 3 classes at the elementary level, that would save approximately $160,000 per year for over a course of 5 years, bringing about an $800,000 savings over a 5-year period. The reason, and Brooke asked me a question like, what? Sorry, I don't get it. Why is it we don't buy all new Chromebooks every year. We cycle out roughly 20% of our Chromebooks over a 5-year period every year. And so what that would represent is, instead of buying the equivalent of 20% next year, we would buy the equivalent of a reduced amount of that. We're not just getting rid of all the Chromebooks and starting fresh. I don't know if I explained that well, but it's if we cut it into thirds, it's not like we can just cut the whole expenditure into third because it's not the whole set of Chromebooks. It's only 20%. So it's 1/3 of 20% every year. I don't know if that makes sense or not. The next point on this one is this also includes buying less expensive versions of the Chromebooks. Something that's come up since we last talked about this is there is a little bit of problematic nature with doing this, and that being that our little kindergartners, first graders, second graders aren't necessarily as dexterous with a mouse and with the little pads when they're working on Chromebooks, and the touch screens are very conducive to a child of that age who is developmentally not at a point where they're able to manipulate the other ways of navigating a Chromebook. And so that could be problematic for kids that are the youngest, which is a little counterintuitive because we're also saying the kids that are the youngest don't need it as much, which is fine. But even when they do need it, it can be challenging for them. And any teacher who's worked with a kindergartner and had to help them log in and take a map test can testify that that is not going to be a 1.5 hour process. That is going to be a significantly lengthier one just to get them logged in. So there is some problematic issues going along with going with the less expensive versions of the Chromebooks. If we go away from touch screens.
So that's what less expensive means, is like no touch screen?
Yeah, because right now they have the ones, or we've been getting the ones that are touchscreen, and I think even like can flip into tablet mode. But the touchscreen really is the most important feature of that. The tablet mode doesn't really matter. It's just they usually come along as a package. Yeah, that is what it means to go with a less expensive version, is essentially to not go touchscreen. And
Mr. Anderson?
it's more nuanced than that. I'm sure Charles could give a more detailed description of I'm sure there are lots of varying levels, but just from a standpoint of trying to find cost savings everywhere, he was kind of going to an extreme extent with that.
The map testing that we conduct now, there's a window that we have to conduct that in?
Yep.
And considering what you just stated with the youngest of our students, how much is that going to impact staggering 3 classes using one device?
Yeah, so there are 3 different testing windows throughout the year. There's one that starts pretty much right after school starts and then ends just around November or so. And then the next one picks right back up in January or December and goes through February, and then it picks up again in March and goes through May. So there is a several month window, so there would be enough time for any individual school to figure that out from a sharing standpoint. It's not that tight of a window, but yeah. All right. I've pointed out that so here it says that it's required for state testing. All of our, whether it's the MAP testing or the SBAC or the WIDA, are those all of them, Ray? Those are the required state tests. ACT, I guess, too. Those all take place in secure testing portals that go through our Chromebooks, and they're set up for that. And so we definitely need at least enough to do testing that gets staggered throughout. And then Chromebooks are also pretty important for our investment in Lexia, which we are seeing is yielding great results. And that is used for tier 1 for all of our students, and sometimes tier 2 interventions for students who need additional assistance. Lexia can help with that. So there's a little bit of a risk of going too far away from kids having access to those because we're getting away from some of the resources we have for them. All right, moving on to textbook adoptions. I've lumped both the pause and the transfer because we've talked about both of those things. So again, is a key outcome in our strategic pillar number 2. So tonight, there's an action on a later item for a proposal to pause textbook adoption for next fiscal year. And very simply, I'm not trying to like put this on the board or blame the board, but again, it was your goal for me and us. And so in order to not do that next year, I just want to make sure I have your approval to not do that. I think it is the right choice to make, but I need you to change what you're telling me to do if you want me to do that. The next thing is to go along with textbooks. What is the proposal to transfer this year's already purchased textbooks over to our capital improvement fund? This is something that was allowable by NRS and Attorney General opinion. This is not meant to be a long-term plan. We don't want to always purchase textbooks out of capital improvement, but our general fund does need some relief at this time. And so last week, we met with our internal kind of advisory group for me, our capital improvement committee, and let them know that we would like to do that and kind of ask for their perspective on it and their support. People were generally agreeable to that. And so the next step in that, before I bring it before you as a board, is when the county capital improvement oversight panel that meets on March 9th, we've got that sent in to them to be an agenda item for that meeting to hopefully seek their approval as well. So then I can bring it before you as a board to make that change.
Mr. Anderson, quick question in regards to the last point that you made. In regards to the capital improvement oversight panel, if we don't vote this evening regarding pausing the textbook adoptions, and we postpone that until after the oversight panel makes their decision, what does that do for timing? How would that impact us?
They're separate in my mind. I don't think one has much to do with the other. I just put them on the same slide because they're both textbook related. The thing that I'm asking you to do tonight is not an approval of moving that purchase over. That is to not do anything next year. So I think we would then need to talk about what are we doing next year. But it would not, I don't know, I guess I can't speak for the panel members. The panel members might say, well, you're telling us it's not a one-year thing, but you've also not committed to not buying textbooks next year. So how are you going to do it next year? Because we don't want to keep doing this every year. So it could have some ancillary impact there, but I can't predict how they would react to how the board chooses to vote on the other item tonight.
And go ahead, Teresa.
And Mr. Anderson, do we receive any funds directly from the state that are tied to textbook adoption, curriculum adoption?
I would say no. I mean, the way that pupil-centered funding formula or funding plan works is theoretically everything is rolled into this one big number that goes with each student, this 9,000 whatever before the adjustments for rural. And so that, Cassie looks like she really wants to talk. Hopefully that doesn't mean I'm saying something wrong, but that number is supposed to be comprehensive for all the need, for all the instruction and materials and resources that a student would need in class. And so if a school district is to buy textbooks, it can come from that, but it is also legally allowed to come from capital improvements if you would like to, because it qualifies as equipment. Go ahead, Cassie.
There used to be NRS regulation that a certain percentage had to be used towards textbook and curriculum. And I don't know if it was in the 82nd or the 83rd session that they eliminated that.
Thank you. I asked that question because Cody and I were before the Ways and Means Committee a few years ago, and we got hammered because the legislators sitting on that committee said, we have given you money specifically for curriculum adoption. And they are wrong. If they are specifically saying we have tagged money exactly for that, and that's what's happening now, then our legislators are incorrect on their assumption that they have given us specific money for that. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Mr.
questions?
Anderson,
All right.
if you don't mind, remind us what happens if the oversight panel disagrees with the recommendations that we're doing.
Well, that's complicated. So I guess it just depends on what your viewpoint is on what the power is of the oversight panel. As far as, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything. I really hope that they approve this. But in my mind, there are two, the money's all in one fund, but we've let the oversight panel know that we need additional funds, and they allocated 20 cents, and we specified that it was for the mechanical upgrades and boiler replacements and necessary roof replacements, necessary work to maintain the physical integrity of our buildings. So I could see how someone would say, well, textbooks isn't any of those things. However, there is also an argument for, well, the oversight panel is only responsible for 20 cents from the last year plus of going in there, and there was a bunch of money sitting there already. And so could we just access, I think we could just access that money and approve it without their approval. But what I really, I mean, I'm less interested in who has the power, and I'm more interested in us being collaborative, working together to find a solution to all of our problems, in as much as they can and it pertains. So I think there is some oversight there in as much as it is part of the capital improvement money. But it's, I mean, if you, the board, really wanted to make an argument that, well, you don't have any say over that money, you only have say over this money, you could do that. I think it's combative to do that, and I would rather we just get together and try to do what's best for our kids and for our budget and for our schools. In the end, this represents a $1.8 or $2 million, addressing to our issue. And so if for some reason between them and or you, we decide not to do that, what it means is I'm going to have to go ahead and find $2 more million. And I think you already know where I'm going to look for that if I have to. So this is a really good solution to a temporary problem. And I want to do a temporary solution to a temporary problem, not a permanent solution.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, that is really small font. I apologize to everyone in the room. Okay. This says other board action required proposals. So that's everything else that was on that left column that I haven't talked about already. So just briefly mentioning here the consolidation of Elko fifth grade students from Flagview Intermediate to the Elko Elementary Schools. My update on that is we're having a meeting a week from today, and that is the main agenda item for that day, and we will talk about it more then. But it will be, I will be agenda, it is, well, technically it's already agendized. We have the opportunity to amend our agenda because we are still within the allowable time frame for that. But right now it is agendized as for possible action. The next one is the reduce regular and long-term substitute pay rates. That is agendized for tonight. After this is all done, I will briefly say that, based on some comments that have come in, this does not eliminate all grow your own pathways, but a reduced pay rate may deter some people from this particular strategy. And the reason I bring up the grow your own pathways is because that is also one of our strategic plan outcomes that we wanted to do. So it doesn't mean we're not doing any of those, but there are particular ones that will be impacted by doing that. And then there's a little screenshot there underneath where it says multiple options for consideration. The question was, well, because we proposed, I think it was 10% cut to the regular sub pay rate and a 32% cut to the long-term sub pay rate. And so the question came up, well, what if it's 10 and 10? What if it's 10 and 20? What if it's 10 and 25? So the 10 already stands for the regular subs, but to make any changes to the long-term sub pay rate, there are some other numbers in there beyond the 32% going anywhere from in increments of 5 from 5 up to 25. So those show you what those differences would be. And I've said it with another item, I'll say it now. Whatever we don't do that is within my proposal, or we reduce from my proposal, we're going to have to find somewhere else. And so if you take away another 7% from the 32 that was recommended, you know, we're going to have to find another, it looks like $200,000-ish from somewhere else. The next one is amending district policies governing usage of district facilities by outside entities. We are both looking at the policy. There's about 5 of them. There are about 5 policies that we're looking at what amendments we would be proposing. And then at the same time that we bring those amendments to you for first review, because those would be a first read, we will also have a district determined fee structure to accompany it. And then I will say ditto for the next bullet, which is amending district policies governing participation in in district-sponsored athletics. I did add over there on the right some costs. People wondered just how much athletics cost. So those numbers are there just for your awareness. Athletics I was going to say on the whole, it's not on the whole. Athletics total, not including the cost of transportation. So that means the bus fuel, the driver pay, the driver per diem, all the things associated with transportation. None of that's included in this big number. So there's almost $2 million, and about 1.3 million of that is wrapped up in what we pay coaches and assistant coaches. And then there's another 600,000 to 700,000 that is wrapped up in lots of other little things like registration fees, porta potties. Cassie, you're gonna have to help me out. What else does that other 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 for athletics? I always forget.
It's towards registration, travel, porta potties.
Oh yeah, hotels, per diem. Yeah, so there's lots that goes into it. And then originally we were my proposal was considering co-curriculars as well. The more I look into that, so you'll see that co-curriculars are significantly less of an expense, still a significant expense. However, much of the co-curricular participation is already offset by grants for CTE and in fundraising for a lot of those costs. So I don't have those broken out by what's grant funded and what's not, but it's not as significant a number, nor is it funded to the extent that athletics is. So I'm really just moving forward with thinking about a pay to participate structure for athletics only and leaving out the co-curriculars. That's my amendment to my proposal.
Could I just ask for clarification?
Sure.
When you said the athletics total and then the athletics extra duty,
Yeah.
is the 1.3 from the 1.976, or are those 2 separate amounts?
They're 2 separate amounts. I thought the 1.3 was part of the athletics total.
Yes.
Okay, it is.
Yes, okay, I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. And then the other one, with any of these, there's still other fees that, how do I say this? Not other fees, but when they do their fundraising and all those types of things, that's in addition to what we're already paying.
Correct.
Correct.
So
Yep.
this is just out of the general fund. So the athletics total, not including transportation, then there's the extra, I'm sorry, I was correct. The 1.9 is total for athletics. The 1.3 is just the extra duty that's in there. Then for all the fundraising and the extra accounts, those are all student activity accounts, which technically we're the fiscal agent. So we monitor them in a sense, but they're completely separate than the general fund.
Okay, so I'm just saying, there's even more into this
Yeah.
than what we pay out of our general fund, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and this doesn't even acknowledge what, I'm acknowledging that parents on top of all of
Yes.
that, like they have their spirit packs and they have, when they get their own hotels to follow their kids around and food, like there's obviously a lot of money that goes into supporting athletics, and I've said it before, you're not going to find a bigger sports nut than me. But athletics is expensive. It's expensive to families. Jeff, you might be a close second to my sports nut self, but it just costs so much. And hotel costs have just gone up so much too since COVID in the last few years. Yeah, the costs are increasing a lot, and it's a lot.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Marsh.
What's our, is the 1.9, most of it we're obligated towards?
So most of that is, well, I would say all of that is essential to run the athletics program because 1.3 of that 1.9 is to pay coaches. So we're not going to have teams probably without paying coaches.
Totally get that. I just meant like maybe like NIAA or you know, by NRS. 'Cause we're,
I mean, there are some, like we do have to pay a certain amount as a district to be part of NIAA, but that's not like, I mean, it's a lot of number for a normal, or a lot of money for a regular person, but in terms of this, it's not a huge number. There are ref fees and things like that in order to be a sanctioned NIAA event, you have to pay for that. But the vast majority of that is to pay the adults that do things and to fund the hotels and everything that goes along with just having kids participate and be in competitions and get around our huge state.
Mr. Anderson, the extra duty for both athletics and co-curricular, are those either based in policy or collective bargaining?
I believe the rates aren't they part of the negotiated agreements? Yeah, I'm getting a nod. Yeah, those charts are they're like appendices of the negotiated agreements.
Thank you.
And what those rates are. And I will just say that they don't, I mean, by the time you calculate the number of hours you spend, you're getting like $1 an hour or something like that. It's so much. They do it for so many other reasons. It's not the paltry stipend they get, which still equates to $1.3 million. We just have a lot of teams at all of our schools. All right, the last one on here that would be board action, and just to let you know where we are on that is, and this has been ongoing for a few years now too, is the need to continue to have our self-funded insurance plan be self-sustaining, which it is not yet. We made really good strides this year with the changes we made last year, but we got to do more. And so we had a meeting on February 23rd last week, and we've got another one coming up a couple days, or the day after our next board meeting. So we are diligently working to try to find other areas, but also be considerate of our staff and how those changes affect them. All right. Next up, our pending actions regarding the hiring freeze and the review of position reductions and the allotment of 0 hours. I've kind of lumped those all in as just part of reviewing, adjusting to enrollments. Again, this is an ongoing annual process. It's always supposed to be based on current enrollment counts and our future projections. We are hoping to, and I guess I just want to point this out. There's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen with teachers if you know, a position is reduced here or this X school is consolidated here. What's going to happen to those teacher jobs, and are they losing their jobs? First and foremost, we seek to eliminate or reduce to match our enrollment by natural processes, and those are every year people retire, and we've already got some of those going. Every year people resign because they move or they're having a baby and they're staying home with their kid, or any number of reasons people resign. And so we have a lot of those that happen. And when those, so if we're reducing, I'm just going to use a number. This is a hypothetical number. If I say the number 40, if we're going to reduce 40 positions because that's what enrollment dictates we should have, then we would start with saying, okay, well, we know we have 11 retirements already. So now we're trying to get now we're at 29. And I know I have 8 resignations. So now I'm down to 21. So really I'm trying to find, I've got 21 more that I got to figure out. And so then we start to look at, we have positions filled by critical needs. And so those critical needs positions, as well as long-term sub positions, those are positions that before this year, again, annual processes, before this year, those always get posted every spring because those are meant to fill in where we cannot have a certified teacher take that job. And so if we reduce 21 other positions and we have 21 or more critical needs teachers and long-term subs, then yes, a critical needs teacher will have lost that job, but that's not a contracted teacher with the Elko County School District. And yes, a long-term sub may have lost their position as a long-term sub, but that is not a contracted classroom teacher losing their job. All of this would obviously result in some shuffling around, and so someone may not be at the school they were at before, or they may not be teaching the grade they were teaching before. But that's also something that happens every year at campuses. It's just happening to a greater extent. As the principal in Wells, I got to tell somebody every year, hey, guess what? You're teaching this grade level next year because so-and-so moved and so-and-so's got seniority and they're doing this one and now you're gonna be in this one. Like that's a natural thing that happens. It's just gonna happen to more people this year because more changes are occurring. I'm not trying to minimize the impact that those decisions have on people. What I do wanna make clear is that these things happen every year. It's just happening more. And the objective is to not have any long-term certified classroom teachers that we have currently contracted with our district lose their job if they don't want to lose their job. We are at a point in the process where, just from a progress update, where we are not really able to move forward with any decisions about what's going to happen anywhere, especially in Elko and Spring Creek, until we have a decision next week on what's going to happen with the consolidation of fifth graders from Flagview to the elementary school. So the sentiment that I felt when we were putting the agenda together was we were not quite ready for that at this time. So that's why a special meeting was created. If anyone was wondering, why are we doing a meeting on 310? And that's why. So we can try to get that decision made. There are many, many, many things that have to be done between now and May 1st, basically. And there's a week of spring break in there and a lot of things that are happening. And we desperately need to get moving forward on these decisions. So
if I could add something there
Sure.
too, there was a little more to that decision with the special meeting. And the reason that we did that was because number one, we need to get a decision on this soon. I didn't want to put it on the agenda for the West Wendover meeting because I know
yes.
a lot of folks are going to want to travel to that. And I didn't want to make it look like we're not trying to hear. So I felt like a special meeting was the best way to make sure that it's done here in town, that anybody who wants to be here can be here. And I
Yes,
just wanted
thank you.
to, I'd rather drive than make all those folks drive out to where I'm at. So on that subject. So
And I'll say furthermore, I'm not going to be present for the 317 meeting either because I am traveling with my kids and the Coraliers that day. And I did not want to, I thought it would be weird if I was not at that meeting. It would seem like I was trying to dodge the whatever happened, and I'm not trying to dodge anything. So I'm glad we're doing that meeting, but we do have to, back to the point at hand, we can't really move forward until that decision's made. We're still reviewing how we could possibly expand NNBA for next year and what those associated costs would be. And then we are also nearing kind of a completion for a plan for how we might structure credit recovery and the fees associated with it. We're working closely with our high school principals and actually some of our middle school as well. And we just really want to make sure we're considering, because they're the ones that are boots on the ground working with those kids, knowing the situations, knowing why everyone's in credit recovery. Your first reaction might be, well, it's because they failed and they weren't trying and they're trying to get through it a different way. Like there are many reasons why a student could be taking a credit recovery class. So we just want to make sure we're being considerate of all those different situations and how we can thoughtfully do that without negatively impacting those students as best we can. But I think we're getting close. And then this one, other board-initiated inquiries, information only. If I could do information only in very big font, I would. But I would run out of room for everything else. All of this here is simply because the question was asked of me, and we got lots of emails about some of these different things. And these are things that kept coming up. And so I just wanted to make sure people knew the dollar amounts associated or just where we were with some of these things. So the reading interventionist positions came up. That is something that takes place at all of our elementary schools except one across the district over the course of a year. That ends up costing around $325,000. We're trying to figure out exactly what to do with those. I'm not, it's not my proposal to get rid of them. We're also looking at maybe possibly how to move those to a grant and provide relief to the general fund that way without losing the service. I know our schools rely heavily on the supports that come through there. And but anyway, that's the cost. The next one, there were, I think, at least half the board at our last meeting brought up the possibility of re-entering negotiations to find additional funds. Just want to make a couple points clear here. Number one, in order to do that, the district is required to declare a fiscal emergency, and you also have to qualify for fiscal. You can't just declare a fiscal emergency like Michael Scott in the office declares bankruptcy. You have to actually be in a fiscal emergency, and so there's that. And then just from a standpoint, people often wonder, well, because we always say, 80 whatever percent of our budget is wrapped up in salaries and benefits. And so what that means is basically for every 1%, that's $1,153,657.54 for 1% of staff salaries and benefits for the district. So if negotiations were to be re-entered into, and if you were trying to decrease through that way of cutting staff pay, then that's what those numbers would look like. I will emphatically reiterate that that is not my proposal or recommendation, but that's the information. And then the last bullet is it has been brought up.
Sorry, though, too, and on that, could you tell me again when the negotiations do open, though? If we weren't to declare.
Got you to, yes. So great point. Negotiations naturally open up on a rotating basis depending on when an agreement term expires. And so we've got about a year or so before that would open up all on its own, just naturally, maybe a little less than a year. So yeah, that statement means if we were to need to force going into negotiations again before it naturally happens. So we are in a 2-year agreement right now. We're nearing the end of that first year. And so usually somewhere in the fall, winter of the final year of an agreement is when you would naturally start having those conversations again. And so, does that answer your question? All right, yep. The last one is there has been this sentiment that we are spending a bunch of general fund money on positions that were originally funded by COVID-related funds. We have no positions that were originally funded by COVID-related funds out of our general fund. Now, there are positions that have been created during and since COVID that exist in our district, but not one of them has anything to do with our general fund. Or sorry, I take that back. That was a false statement. Not any of them were originally funded by COVID funds and now are being paid for with the general fund. We do have some that are being paid for with the general fund, but they were paid for out of something else before. But the majority of those, all of them fit that statement right there. I'm starting to talk myself into confusion, actually. So yeah, we don't have any to answer that question directly. And I think that's the last slide. It is.
All right. And before we get to questions, board, I'd like to kind of let you know how we're going to be handling these budget items going forward. What we're limited, because it's an agendized item, we're limited at talking on our discussion right now as to what's agendized. We need to avoid bringing up any other proposals, for example, about Jane Doe Elementary, for example. I don't want to throw any names, but we need to keep it general like that because the public deserves to know if we're going to talk about their situation, their school, they should be able to be here. So going forward, that slide, the other board-related inquiries, we're going to be seeing the same agenda item, the budget item, going forward indefinitely until we can get through this. And so that would be the place if you have suggestions or alternate proposals, then we can get those in there, have it agendized, so the folks that it does affect can be here and can speak up if they like. So with that, I'd like to open up the floor to discussion on this particular agenda item.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Mr.
Yes.
Anderson, on the last slide, it said we would require qualification for and declaration of a fiscal emergency. So what qualifies as a fiscal emergency? Is that a dollar number? How does that take place? Should that be something we would want to pursue as a board?
And to piggyback on that, what other implications does that have if you declare a financial emergency besides the ability to open up negotiations?
I'm going to phone my friend across the room to answer this question.
I'm digging through my email. Can you just, can we circle back to that question of somebody else? Thank you.
Thank you, friend.
Sure, if that's all right. Yeah, we'll circle back. Do you have anything else on that?
So I just is also going with that, it says with bargaining units and we have 3. So this, should that be the case, it would open up all of those agreements, correct? It's because it says units plural.
Potentially.
Just making
Yeah.
sure I'm clear on that.
I mean, I guess if we were wanting to do an across the board change, then yes, you would need to go in with all 3. If for some reason you didn't want to do that, then we wouldn't have to. But it has, I would say that, and you know this full well, you've been here a long time. It has been our practice to equitably have raises and changes happen across the units for the most part.
Thank you.
I found it.
Oh, all right, back to the question.
RS 288-150. So we're allowed to reopen a collective bargaining agreement for additional further new supplementary negotiations relating to compensation or monetary benefits during a period of fiscal emergency. And this is defined if the amount of revenue received by the general fund of the local government employer during the last preceding fiscal year from all sources except any non-reoccurring source declined by 5% or more from the amount of revenue received by the general fund from all sources, from all those fiscal years, for the local government, or if the local government employer has budgeted an unreserved ending fund balance in its general fund for the current fiscal year in an amount equal to 4% or less of the actual expenditures from the general fund from the last preceding fiscal year. And we must also include a written explanation of the budgeted ending fund balance.
So if I'm hearing that correctly, it's 4% or less ending fund balance would qualify for that declaration?
Correct, or revenue of the general
Or
fund.
less
declined
5%?
5%.
Okay. And what other implications are there? The purpose of the declaration would be to only open negotiations, or are there other implications to that?
From how I'm reading this, and it's just a section of the NRS, I'm just reading it to opening collective bargaining agreements, so.
Okay, thank you.
It would also require us saying what our corrective action would be for that. There would be other things that are, is that what you're getting at, Jeff? Like, are there other things
Yeah,
triggered with the
I
state
hadn't looked
maybe?
into the designation any
Yeah.
further than what we had discussed, and I wondered if it affected any aspects of our
Yeah,
budget.
we would likely be required to give that corrective action plan, talk to the Department of Taxation. We'd have to work with state entities to show what we are doing and what the future plan is to correct
Thank you.
the current situation.
While we're on this subject, a couple of clarifications. The fiscal emergency is not the same as a severe financial emergency in which the state takes over, correct?
Correct.
And what is our current anticipated budget, ending fund budget, fund balance for budget?
As it's stated with the Department of Taxation, I'm technically not allowed to have a zero fund balance. I have to keep it the previous year unless we use it for capital improvement projects, which we don't do out of our general fund. So right now, how it's filed with the Department of Taxation, it's stated that we'll have a $4.8 million ending funding balance. But if our expenditures continue, we will be, and we do not make the necessary cuts, we will be at a zero ending fund balance after the audit.
Which is 4% of, or less of our funding balance, of our budgeted
Correct.
expenses.
Our annual budget right now is $125 million for our expenditures out of the general fund.
That'd be 5 million.
So even if we do make all budgeted cuts and we end with 4.8 million, we're still less than the 4%. Oh, no, you said 5 million. Yeah, it's-
125 would be 5 million.
So with the additional $11 million that we're having to make right now, that would bring us to a 0 ending fund balance. If we wanted to get a 4% ending fund balance, we would have to make an additional 4.8 million on top of the 11 million, bringing it to about almost 15 million.
And if I recall correctly from last meeting, roughly 85% salary and benefits, the remaining 15%, we could cut 60% of that to equal 11%. So we would need to cut 80% to make, or sorry, not 11%, but 11 million. So we'd need to cut 80% of non-salary and benefits to make 15 million out of the general fund. That was a lot of numbers.
That was a lot of, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I could do the 4%, but that was.
I got what you were saying.
Yeah.
We can't get
It's
rid of
not
80%
happening.
of everything other than salaries is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct, sorry.
Okay.
Matt.
No, that was,
I was trying to make a point, and that is a correct point. We can't just get rid of 80% of everything.
Of
other
everything
than-
not
other
salary.
than the salaries. That's correct.
Yep. and that's what would be required
Without touching anything
To-
else. Yeah.
have an ending fund balance of 4.8 million. So it doesn't matter what we do, we will be in the qualifications of an emergency status.
Correct. I plan on going to the local government finance commission at the end of the fiscal year. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll go together. I know, right?
All right, anything further from the
Everybody heard
board?
it.
All right, just a reminder, if you want to get anything we want to talk about in future agenda items, get that to me or the superintendent, and we'll try and work that into the agenda so that we can talk about it.
I do have
Yeah.
some things that I would like to
Go
talk
ahead.
about, especially before next week's meeting, just for everyone to have another week to think them over. I am going to just state for the record that I think that the Flagview move is a bad idea, that moving forward with that is a bad idea. I think that it's going to cause so much disruption in our district that the money that we would see in savings there just isn't worth it, and that we could possibly see that savings in other places, such as the reading intervention specialists. I hope that we can get that in a grant, but I would rather see cuts being made there than the change at Flagview. It's not going to just affect the teachers and the students at Flagview. It's going to end up having a ripple effect all over our district. It's going to affect every school that these fifth graders are moved to. It's going to end up affecting other schools when administrators get moved around. And so I just really think everybody needs to think long and hard about the negative effects that that move and that decision could make. I encourage you all to go I've talked to several different principals, I've talked to lots of teachers, and I just, from what I'm hearing from community members, teachers, principals, all sorts of people in the district, I haven't heard a lot of people that are in favor of this move. And there's just gonna be, I think there's a lot of things, unforeseen things that could end up negatively impacting the district if we move forward with that. So I would encourage you over this next week to really look into that and ask a lot of questions and meet with as many people as you can and just kind of get a really good grasp on how that's going to affect our faculty and each school site. There are some things that I think are on here. Let me look over the responsibility for decisions that I was looking at. So I'm just going to state it again with the credit recovery plan and fee structure. I just really think we need to look at possibly making that happen in the classroom instead of offering that through an online source. I've had a lot of emails come in from teachers, and I've talked to a lot of teachers personally who say that that's like an easy way out for these kids to be able to recover their credits, and that they really feel like, from what I said at the last meeting, they really feel like I hit the nail on the head where these kids should have to sit through that class again. And obviously there are some cases where you may need to use a different credit recovery plan for some of these students, but that it's the way that it's being done now, it's made it easy for these kids to kind of cheat and get through it faster than they should and not really earn it. And I would like to see diplomas mean something in our district. And so that's my 2 cents on credit recovery. As far as computers go, and the Chromebooks, same. I've had teachers talk to me and say that they think that the Chromebooks are a problem. I have had emails also from teachers saying that they use them and that they can't go to the cart model, but the overwhelming majority of people that I've talked to say that they would not be opposed to cutting Chromebooks in our district. I've heard that from teachers and I've heard it from administrators, and not just at the elementary level. I've heard it from administrators at the secondary level saying that they think that Chromebooks in a way are really actually hindering our students' growth. And I shared something with CJ where I watched a deal where someone testified to a group talking about how kids' cognitive ability is, for the first time ever, declining, that they would measure kids' cognitive ability and it grew that it grew and got better than the generation before them, and that it had consistently done that until one-to-one stuff started happening in schools, and now we're seeing a decline in cognitive ability. It's the first time in history that that's happening. And I think we need to make sure as a school district that we're providing ways for these kids to learn that they can cognitively develop and then introduce those things later so that they can enter into a tech-driven world, because that's the world that we live in. They do need to have those skills. But I think that, first they need to be able to cognitively develop. They need to be able to learn and write on paper and write reports without having that helping write it for them. And if you talk to teachers and if you talk to administrators, these are making things really hard in a lot of ways. And so I just think the board needs to really look into that too. But those are my thoughts on the majority of those things. And that's what I'm hearing from everyone that I'm talking to in the community.
Thank you, Trustee Ballard. Anyone else have anything?
You want to go? You want to go? I'm sure. Mine's gonna be real quick. So I received a lot of emails. Thank you so much. Appreciate the ones that were respectful and constructive. Don't appreciate the other ones, but it is what it is. So used to it by now, right? As we've been doing topics that are controversial for a while now. But I have gotten a spread of everything as far as flag view is concerned. And so I just want to put that on there. I'm not going to tell you where I feel on it. We're still working on it. We have a whole meeting associated with it. So we're going to hold off on that. But I do want to just report that I have a full spread of support for it, against it, indifferent. And especially thank you so much. These are hard decisions. So yeah, and so I just want to put that out there as well as we move forward. So.
Thank you, Dr. Byers.
And I will say that everyone I have talked to that has stopped me or called me or anything else, and just the overwhelming response I have gotten is that it would benefit the community of Elko in general to go ahead with the movement of the 5th graders back to the elementaries. So it's very interesting. We have community that has a lot of varying opinions, and the overwhelming majority of people that I have communicated with, talked to, have said, Flag View was a temporary solution that should have been temporary and it wasn't. And I am not by any, means saying Flag View's not doing a good job. They're trying to do everything they can. But so many people have said that's a good move for the district. So just putting that out there. One other quick question. When we're looking at athletics, Mr. Anderson, do you have a number for how many kids participate in athletics and co-curriculars and how that correlates with graduation rates? Any idea on that one?
I was excited to have numbers for you.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Numbers first.
I do not.
Numbers first.
So not from co-curricular standpoint, Heather, I could get that number for you. I'm sure Hillary's taking really good notes on this. So I can get those numbers for you. I mean, you're Hillary. Heather presented to us back in Spring Creek a couple meetings ago about, it's like a 98 point something % graduation rate for kids who are in CTE programs, or who are completers of CTE pathways. And often, I would bet the Venn diagram of CTE completers and people who are in those CTSOs, which are the co-curricular programs, it's probably almost a singular circle, right? Like the overlap there is significant. So I feel confident saying, even though I don't know the numbers, if you are involved in a co-curricular program such as FBLA, FCCLA, on and on and on, that the graduation rate is phenomenal. As far as athletics goes, I do not have a great feel for if athletics, what the numbers are to correlate with graduation rate. I will say again, as a sports nut and a person who was a 3-year athlete and played a sport through college, I believe in the value of athletics and what it does to promote, someone doing well in school when they're otherwise not motivated to, or keeps them going, keeps them with good mentors. There's so many ancillary and wonderful benefits that come as a result of that. As far as the number goes, now that I think about it, I actually don't have a great number for you. What I can tell you is we have roughly 2,400 roster spots filled by athletes in our district. And the reason I have to say it weirdly that way is because some of those roster spots, there are 3 of those filled by one person. Or if you're in Wells, that actually might be like 5 filled by one person because you might be cheering and playing volleyball. Those things are, so we have 2,400 participations, but the participant number is going to be obviously less than that because of duplicates. I think I've answered everything I can from your question.
Thank you.
I believe the correlation is high, but I don't have any.
I believe it is too, and that's why I asked.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure, this is, Elko County School District isn't going to stop being a school district here in the next couple of years. We're going to continue for generations and generations. And we want to just make sure that as we're making these decisions, we're looking long-term, because right now we're talking really hard about money, but other times of the year, we're talking about graduation rates, and we're talking about participation, and we're talking about, how can we best serve these kids? So in all of these decisions, we just need to be really thoughtful about, are we metaphorically shooting ourselves in the foot by, making some of these changes that might deter a student from continuing to participate as a student in Elko County School District. So just bringing that out there. And I know everyone on this board has thought a lot about everything here, plus so many other things. But I just wanted to bring that out verbally. Thank you.
Do you want to go, Matt?
Go ahead.
Just a couple of things, because I asked most of my questions as you were giving your presentation. I have received a little bit of mixed reviews for the Flag View, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm still looking at everything and just looking it all over. Anyway, the credit recovery plan and the fee structure, I have to say, I know there are times where students need that credit recovery for whatever reason, health, or, there's valid reasons. But I'm glad you're going to look into that credit recovery plan, because I really think that needs to be revamped. Because talking to some people, as Brooke has done, and I'm sure the others, I don't think it's working like we want it to, is how I look at it. even with the facility usage fee, I think that needs to be looked at again, just because facilities cost a lot of money to maintain. So I think that's worth looking at. And some of the things you mentioned that you're looking into, I think that's a good plan. So that's just my 2 cents as well.
Thank you. Before you move on to Matt, I think I thought I made something clear. I just want to make it clear again. If it was on that first slide of responsibility, because I got the feeling that Brooke was trying to encourage me to consider the Chromebook in the athletics or the credit recovery, and you were doing the same just now. If it's on there, it's now a proposal, and we're moving forward with doing something with it. So I thank you for validating that, but we will have proposals for doing those things. It's not something I'm being convinced of anymore. We're moving forward with the plan.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
And I want to add one more thing to what Brooke had said. We're not moving fifth graders. They're just staying at the school they're at, because you said we're moving them. So I just wanted to clarify that, just for everybody's knowledge. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Anderson, so because I was apparently not paying enough attention, anything that's on slide 2, the responsibility for decisions, all of that is being considered. You're not needing to be swayed one way or the other on that.
Those are my proposals now.
Perfect.
Everything on there is a proposal for cost-saving measures.
And we'll just see that at a later date to be able to vote on it as it's on the left side, and you'll
And
just
if it's on the
present it
right
on the right
side, we're
side.
doing it.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, I'm not even gonna go into that one then. Okay, couple of things then. I want to start by kind of off what Dr. Byers had said. I want to acknowledge all of the feedback that I've received over the past few months. I welcome the engagement from all sides, as I believe that the current situation that we are in affects our entire county. I'm especially grateful to the respectful nature that has been presented almost without exception. The acknowledgement that the decisions the board must make are not easy, and those who have indicated that we, either individually or collectively, are in thoughts and prayers. So I do appreciate that. As we move forward, I'm looking forward to the meeting next week. I would like specifics on the $500,000. I'm going to say now, I need convincing without trying to indicate a vote one way or the other. But currently, I look forward to more information, because the information I have now is not the direction that I think you want me to be in. That one you already answered for me. We'll talk about that one on another agenda item this evening. I'm looking forward to the facility usage fee side of things. For full disclosure, I work at a place that rents facilities, and I have multiple connections with multiple other organizations that do the same, but nonetheless, I think that that's a good thing to look at. And I think the board received an email that, I'll be honest with you, I had not thought of, which is silly because it's amazing how quickly memory fades. We were required to go one-to-one during COVID to give access. And I didn't think about getting rid of complete, just even a 3-to-1 measure, what that would look like if there was another pandemic. So just for laughs and gaffs, and I don't mean to make more work. Oh, actually, I did want to say that too. Thank you to not only to the Office of the Superintendent, but also to the staff. I know that we have thrown out a ton of questions. I appreciate the time that you guys have put into it. Clearly, that takes away from your other duties, and that means that because kids are still getting educated, you're double dutying yourself. So thank you very much for everything that you're doing. And sorry to add yet more, but I'd like to see what the cost savings would be at a 2-to-1 ratio instead of a 3-to-1, just in the event of, or even at least what the ramp-up cost would be if we did need to suddenly go back to 1-to-1, so that we can go from there. A couple more things that I'll probably save for either board member comments or another meeting? Mr. Chair, thank you for the time.
Thank you. I will go ahead and jump in. I just had a couple quick comments. They're actually questions, which I'm not asking for an answer right now, but it'll be in questions that I'll be asking specifically towards Flagview in next meeting is this proposal just to save money, or is it good inherently? Is it have merits to it just besides the cost savings? And what are the long-term benefits to making that action? And what is the plan long-term for that location? Because I want to echo what's been said by other trustees. I want to make sure that what we do here is done with the future in mind and not just a one-year action to get us out of a temporary problem. So just looking towards the future. And then the other thing on credit recovery, I've had a lot of input on that. And just to express my opinion on that, I think we definitely should be charging for that a fair price. And there should be waivers. And by the way, thank you everyone for your emails and communications. I've done my best to answer all of those to the best of my ability. And I believe one of them was discussing this and talked about the reason that their student, it was a parent, and the reason their student used credit recovery was because of a medical issue, and they weren't able to attend school because of that. And I absolutely think there should be a waiver for situations such as that. But if it's because a student just failed the class, then it shouldn't be just an easy path. I think there should be some pay there, but for something beyond someone's control circumstances, then I would favor a waiver system for that. And regarding your presentation, that's all I have for right now. Anything further from?
I am so sorry, Mr. Chair and Mr. Anderson. The free and reduced lunch form I asked about last meeting or the meeting before. I personally would love to see any waivers, whether it's credit reduce or credit recovery, athletics, anything that is going to involve parents or students opting in or out. If you don't have the free and reduced lunch form, it doesn't matter. You don't get it. It's a simple form. It's easy to do. It directly impacts our federal funding. If you don't take the time to do the form, I don't think you get that. And I don't know if we can put that as a blanket policy. I'd love to see something along those lines, but I'm just throwing that out there. This is something that helps the district, and it needs to be, I mean, this gives us the ability to put teeth behind why we beg yearly to get this in there. And then you had indicated seniority impacting where folks go. This is a countywide issue. Is the seniority only at affected schools? And if so, is that through collective bargaining, or is that just because we're trying not to be disruptive? Because this is, as has been mentioned, it's a district-wide policy or problem. It's not just an Elko problem or a fifth grade problem.
Yeah. So Cody, feel free to jump in but I think the answer to your question is there are, you know, when I was talking about the seniority and moving around the school I work at, or I was the leader of at that time, that's just, I have the ability as a principal at that time to decide what to do with my staff. If I wanted to just shake it all up, which would be an idiotic thing to do as a principal, so you get run out of the building. But if I wanted to shake it up, I could say, all right, you first grade, you fifth grade, like I could do that. Nobody gets hired to a specific position or a specific school. I shouldn't say nobody, but teachers generally don't get hired to specific grade levels at specific schools. It depends. You are movable based on what your certification is. Now, what is clear in the negotiated agreement is if involuntary transfers happen, then there are ties to attendance zone areas. Yes, am I getting it? Okay. That like there is that. So that's why we keep talking about things in terms of Elko and Spring Creek, because all of this is one big like attendance zone or work zone for teachers. And so, yes, if someone's position became reduced at one school and they needed to go to another school to keep their job, then there are things within the contract that would determine, what sort of priority they would get for a job over someone else potentially. But you start specifically when it's about involuntary transfers, not voluntary. Voluntary transfers, we do, again, annual process. We do it every year. There's a list. You say, I'd like to try another grade, or I really like that principal over there. I just been doing the same thing for 15 years. I'm ready for a change. So people can voluntarily transfer to wherever they want, even outside of their attendance zone, if that's open and if they get the job. But as far as involuntary goes, there are things contractually that are tied to attendance zones. Cody, did you have anything we wanted to add to that?
That's right.
All right.
Does the Elko Spring Creek Greater Attendance Zone include Carlin and Battleborn?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Board. Some great questions.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
We brought up, actually CJ brought up that in our last board meeting, several of us talked about re-entering negotiations with unions. I would like to see that happen or be put on an agenda, whatever we need to do, sooner than later, because we all know that those negotiations do take some time. And so that's my request, because I think we need to move forward on that. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's where I'm at on that. Just one other point is through talking to a bunch of teachers and different staff in the district, as far as the flag view proposal goes, I fear that if we move forward with that, we're going to have a lot of teachers, possibly even administrators, that decide they want to go somewhere else, that they don't want to stick around. So I just have a lot of fear about what that will do in the district, and just encourage you to go and talk to as many people as you can.
Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the specifics of some of these budget recommendations. We'll go to item 4.05, review, discussion, and possible action regarding proposed revisions to policy GDB02, substitute teachers and licensed employees, for possible action. Mr. Anderson?
Yep. So this, I wish you luck on how you go about voting about this if you do take action tonight. But the original one with no parentheses after it, just the one that's the attachment that's titled GDB02, that is what we proposed last meeting. Wait, is that correct? Yes, that's correct.
Yes, according to the list here, yes.
Okay.
The one with A is what we proposed last
Thank
time.
you. Yep.
The original.
So the original is the original. A is the one that was last time. Thank you.
But with the
No.
dates changed to 8 instead of, was it 10, to reflect the 4-day?
Okay. I'll erase what I said. The one without any parentheses is just the original one from
Correct.
before we ever met.
Yes.
There are 4 other proposals here based on input and requests from board members. I didn't know a better way to give you the other options. So B, let's see. Oh, I have a cheat sheet. Thank you. I don't know, I'm sitting here staring at it. All right. So option A, thank you so much, is the same proposal as the last meeting. We just changed the number of days to begin long-term subrates on day 8, because before it said it would start on day 5 or something like that. And I think it was Brooke that pointed out that that was kind of odd. So we changed that to just mean 2 weeks. So option A is the same as last time, but long-term subrates start on day 8. Option B, takes option A and adds an effective date of July 1, 2026 to the long-term section, but still cuts them by the same amount that was originally proposed last meeting. And the intention behind doing that differently is that we'd be keeping with our promise, so to speak, of you signed up to be the long-term sub in this classroom for the whole year, and we told you you'd be getting paid this much, and so we're going to finish you out for that for this year. But then starting July 1, that rate would change for those people, so they'd be able to finish out the year with the rate that was told to them 10 months ago or 8 months ago or whatever that was for them. Then option C takes option B, but makes both of them a 10% deduction. So less of a deduction for long-term subs, but it becomes effective 7 days after passage or approval. And option D is option C, but instead of starting 7 days after for the long-term subs, again, puts their effective date of July 1st as the change in pay rate. So there are two options. Think about it in these terms. There are two options of both pay rate and of time of when it goes active. Either it's 10% for long-term, 10% reduction for regular subs, 32% reduction for long-term subs, and start in 7 days, or start for long-term subs in July. And then the same duo of scenarios, but a 10% deduction for both evenly. And for what it's worth, I'm recommending option B, which is the option from last time, only clarifying that the long-term subs would keep the pay that was told to them when they took the job this year.
We go throughout the end of the year and then go with the
Conclude this year with that
reduction,
rate.
original reduction that was proposed, which is aligns with the average paid in the state of Nevada.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And remind us, or me, what the cost savings is? For example, the option B or the option D? Please.
For option, I don't know them for all of them. Option B was 1.5 million. That was what I said last time if we did the one that I was proposing.
Thank you.
Yep,
So you said 1.5?
that's what I said.
And just quick math would make the other proposals roughly a third of that. Because we're reducing by 10 instead of 30.
Just the long-term sub part of it.
What was the percentage reduction for regular? It might even have been more. Like
Cody,
219
do
to
you know-
160.
I'm scrolling to something that I have to try to answer your question. Okay, so long-term, I guess this was on one of the slides we had before. So on my previous presentation, so a 10% cut for the long-term subs would represent about $294,000, $295,000 of savings, whereas a 32% cut is north of $900,000 in savings.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You lost
So
me there.
I'll do it the other way. My original proposal on the long-term side of things was for a 32% cut for long-term subs, and that would be in the neighborhood of around $900,000. And so by reducing that 22% from what I proposed down to 10% would mean that the savings goes from around 900,000 to just under 300,000. And I will reiterate that if we do that, then that's 600,000 more dollars that we have to try to find.
Is this taking into account the fact that next year we're not going to be using as many of these positions?
Nope. This is just saying this is how many long-term subs we have. This is what we're spending on long-term subs, and this is what would change if we reduced it by that much. And the reason I see where you're going with that, Jeff, because if we're not using some of them at all, it's actually even more savings. But we cannot predict at this point
Right.
who will willingly transfer or who will keep their job or who will make what decision based off of whatever we decide and move forward with here. So the best we can do is do numbers based off of what it would be untrue to say that we're getting rid of all long-term sub jobs for next year. That's not accurate.
Right.
And so I can't say what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's practical either because
No.
people get sick or
Yeah.
whatever happens.
Absolutely.
And we certainly don't take away from the hard work of those long-term substitutes. I'm just trying to understand this one more time. So the 1.5 million and then the 900,000, so between.
Nope.
okay.
The
See, that was
1.5
thinking.
million savings was totaling up a 10% savings on our regular sub pay and that we have throughout the year, and a 32% savings on the long-term subs. So the long-term subs represented around 900 or so thousand of that 1.5 million, and the other 0.6 million
Thank you.
is from the 10% of the regular subs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize if that
That's
wasn't
okay.
clear. Yeah.
I
So
think
the-
it's probably not you.
The 600,000 then is already resolved. We're only looking at the 900,000?
Well, no, it's not resolved. I'm just not proposing any options. Like all four options include a 10% reduction to that. So I'm not giving you different numbers on that because
Thank you.
that's not relevant to my proposals.
This is a question I have about how many long-term subs we have that are currently using the pathway. Yeah, the alternate route to licensure.
ARL.
So, yeah, because, that grow your own pathway strategy that we had discussed earlier. You know?
I'm going to let Cody answer that one.
Quick answer is no, because we haven't asked them to it's not a qualifying mechanism to be a long-term sub. We can ask that and find out. But like I said before, obviously, if you make that a requirement, people will go into a pathway. We do have a list from UNLV, and I think we have 8 long-term subs right now in that, but I also know that there's other people that are in Grand Canyon or Western Governors as well. So we don't have a specific number.
Okay, the reason I ask, sorry,
You're good.
is you guys gave us some great options here. But I'm just thinking, I'm just gonna throw out another option. What if I'm with you, CJ, I like option B, which kind of grandfathers in the permanent subs, long-term subs that we have right now that are teaching classes and continues their pay that they have been receiving this year until July 1. And then regular subs would be at 161 a day and the long-term subs would be at 217 a day. But I kind of like the idea of any of our long-term subs that are currently using a pathway to licensure right now, and maybe putting in something that says that if after that January 1, that they would receive that 286 as long as they're, so that we don't completely squash that grow your own pathway strategy for the teachers that have already, for those people that have already started that. So their pay will still get cut, but not as drastically. And so that's kind of my idea, is go with option B with just kind of like another line added in there that says for teachers that are currently doing this. And that means like next week, if one of those long-term subs decides to get into that pathway, it doesn't apply to them, but it does apply to all those teachers that have already started that process, that they would, instead of the 217 per day, they would get that 286. So it would still be cut, but not as significantly. That's my recommendation, but.
Yep, I hear what you're saying. I've got a couple thoughts on that, and I hope none of it's received as disparagingly. I'm just trying to help you think of different elements of the equation. Number one, even if we do that, I can't promise there will be a long-term sub position for that person next year. They could be in that pathway right now, and because of the attrition or whatever that happens, like that position may be going to someone else anyway. So we may be formalizing in something in policy for someone that's not even going to have that job next year. So that's a possibility. The other thing, and you know, as someone who's currently in school, I know the challenges of having a full-time job, and then lately this has been a full-time job and a half. It's a challenge to do school and a job at the same time, and I have seen these pathways stretch out over 4, 5, 6, 7 years for some people. So if you are going to do that, I would recommend putting a cap on how long they can drag that out.
I agree. I think a time limit would be smart.
I'm going to jump in real quick if I may. I agree very much so with what Brooke was saying, and I have something similar. Instead of dragging it out via time, I think we maybe say 6 credits a semester or a block of time, however we want to do that, because I know that some work on a quarterly basis, some work on a semester basis, but something along those lines. I'd like to see that. For those that are already in there, you're right. How do we know that they're going to have a job next year? We don't. However, I think that we do still want to encourage that. And I would even go so far as to say, if they weren't enrolled at the beginning of this school year, it doesn't qualify to them. Because even, like you said, if it starts next week, well, if they started last week, nope, doesn't work. We're looking for people who are invested in the district, who are invested in becoming a teacher. And based on that, I think that we say if you were enrolled in a program and you've been able to show progress through however many credits or however, whatever we want to do on that, I think it needs to not even necessarily be 6 years, because just in our family, my study habit is great. Yep, I'm taking 12 credits right now and we're getting it done and that's it. And oh, I need 6 more credits. I'll do that in 3 more years. I got it. Whereas my wife says, I'm doing 3 credits continuously until it gets done. So I don't even think we want those gaps. We want continuous progress. Go ahead, sorry.
I think it's going to be difficult to monitor what you're asking us to
So
monitor.
literally just going to ask that, who's going to monitor this? How are we going to do it? We're going to add more to the staff already. Cody's already steaming out his ears because he's got a whole nother Excel product he's got to make. So and at the other side, let me just be pragmatic here. I appreciate, first of all, what these folks are doing. I appreciate they're trying to go down this. But at the same time, this is the alternative route to learning. There's no guarantees in it. How can the district be responsible for someone else's education? We're not doing this because we're trying to pick on anybody. We're doing this because this is a pragmatic approach to try how to save some money in this spot. And so I appreciate what they're doing, but tough decisions have to be tough decisions. And if we just continue to add more and more things that we have to track for the sake of being nice, we're just going to track ourselves in there. And so I just, the more you add to it logistically, the more myself being someone that owns a business going, how would I track all that? It's more that we have to track over and over and over again for something that could be simple and clean. We can still have a medium approach. The red line B seems to be pretty even keeled. Hey, we'll get you to the end of the year, right? Great. That's more than what we have to do in this sense. And so I think it's the same as when I let someone go from my office and I give them 2 weeks. I don't have to give them 2 weeks pay, like not at all. I can just let them go. But that's something we do because we're like, here, this will get you to the next. Hopefully you find where you belong in that area. And then with Mr. Anders saying, hey, we don't even know if they're going to be here next year. So we're going to continue to fund something into the future that we have no idea where it's at. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, the district can't be responsible for people's education in that sense, in the adult education side of it. But we can definitely try and help them out with what we can do here. There seems to be a gap because if we do this, if you say, hey, we're going to do this into the future, that takes even more money out of this. And then why are we even considering then? We're all wasting our time here.
So I hear what you're saying. It would sunset eventually, because again, it's only those that that are currently in and that have already been enrolled in a program. Obviously, if all 31 of them are in a program, then our savings are significantly less. So we would need to figure out what that would look at. But from a tracking standpoint, it's less than 5% of all teachers. And I mean, students have to track eligibility. It's not that difficult to walk in and say, hey, here's my transcript. I'm qualified. You didn't provide your transcript. Sorry, you're off the program. I realize I'm making it very simplistic, but I think we do need to support those teachers, because I shouldn't say, well, yeah, they are teachers, those individuals who came to the district in our time of need and want to make a career out of this and are moving towards that. I think we need to support them on that. We have a pipeline that we need to keep filled. And if this is one way to get in, then I think that's something that we need to look at. I do question what is the practical difference between what a long-term sub does, who starts on day one knowing they're going to be a long-term sub for the entire year, and a certified teacher who starts on day one. Let's take experience out of it. If certified teacher A is her first year or their first year teaching, and long-term sub B is knowing they're going to have a full classroom for that year, and that's their first year, what is the practical difference between what the job duties are for those two? I'm seriously asking. I'm trying to understand.
I disagree with the statement that there's none. I know I just heard some people in the crowd say there's none. I disagree with that statement. I've received emails from people who are currently certified teachers and were long-term subs, and they said, respectfully, it's not the same job. There are more responsibilities. Now, there is a big difference between a long-term sub who steps in during an injury for someone for a 3-week period versus someone who's there from day 1 to day 151. Like there's definitely a difference there. But there are certain obligations. I don't know if Cody, if you want to chime in on any of them, or if you'd like me to put those together for you and I can let you know, but there are certain, there are certain PD renewal requirements that certified teachers have to get that a long-term sub doesn't have to get. The path to even getting there, there's something to be said for the fact that you are certified and educated to an extent to hold that position. There are different things. And again, as we keep saying, and there's no way someone's gonna lovingly accept what I just said. Like I get that hits hard for some people, but there are differences between the jobs. There are many similarities, but yeah, there are some differences.
Can I
And
interrupt for just?
If I could, sorry, if I could
Go
just
ahead,
chime in.
Josh.
We've already established, Matt, that despite the fact that there, even if you're taking what I say, there are some differences, the difference in pay is negligible at this point between the two. And I think, I don't know, I think it sends a different message to say you can be a long-term sub for 5 years while you get a degree and get paid the same as someone who went to college, underwent the training, came here as a new teacher, and is definitely committed. I'm not saying that the people that are going through it aren't committed. Like I would hope that if they're doing that, they're doing that with the plan to finish, but they don't always finish, just as people don't finish their degrees all the time. I think there's a difference.
Can I just
Go ahead,
go with
Trustee
what
Neal, and then I'm
Matt's
gonna jump in.
talking about? Are they evaluated the same as a teacher
Nope, not evaluated. They don't have to do any evaluations.
at all? Because I understand, they, like I was trying to figure out the clarification. I'm glad you clarified because I'm thinking they still do IEPs. They have to sit in on, they do all of that part.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
Yeah, they do. Well, they can't be an LEA, they can't be the certified teacher for an IEP, can they? I'm looking across the room.
But they can sit in on the IEPs.
They can sit in there, but yeah,
they're
don't.
still part of
They don't
those
serve
'cause
that
they have them
function.
all year.
They just have different requirements. They're not evaluated with the NEPF. They have different other.
So their evaluation is from the school they're attending? Because I'm just
It's
thinking,
if the
I know it's a
principal
whole,
wants them to continue there that's how a long-term sub acquires their job at a school. If a principal has a vacancy that couldn't be filled with a certified teacher, they pick the person they want to be there. They have to be certified as a substitute. But even getting a substitute certification is a lower threshold than getting a teacher certification.
So to clarify, they're completely at will. As far as not being evaluated, how do we remove them? Principal just comes in and says, don't like the way you're doing your job, see ya.
Yes.
Okay.
A substitute of any form or fashion is an at-will employee.
And those that are certified get evaluated, but also have the protection of not being able to be fired.
Yeah, they're part of the
Walking in and
the
saying,
bargaining
"See
units,
ya."
yeah. Mhm. They're protected by the master agreements, whereas
So there's the trade-off.
substitutes are not. Mhm.
Okay. And just to be clear, what I'm proposing as far as supporting those that are in the ARL is only for the current cohort of 31. Those that want to join the district next year, great, we welcome you. Here's the pay. Pay is 171 or 161 or whatever it is that we decide and move forward on. I'm just saying that those that are currently with us, that's where we have some support, some loyalty, some buy-in to them. That's all I was looking at. Just to clarify again, because I didn't want it being an ongoing thing of, oh, you don't want to be a teacher, or at least you want to get paid the same teacher rate, well, just become a long-term sub. That was all I was trying to say.
Can I ask a quick question also? I just want to make sure I understood this right. I talked to Cody before the meeting. There's no guarantee that we're not going to have long-term subs assigned a class next year, right?
I think the question you're asking is whether or not we will eliminate all long-term subs, and that's not true. Mr. Anderson said that earlier in the meeting, that there will be schools that will still need long-term subs, but just like every year, all long-term subs positions and critical needs positions will be posted for either transfers or to be filled by a licensed professional, so.
Okay, so that's kind of where I'm basing this off of, is when there's a possibility next year that we'll still have long-term subs assigned to teach fourth grade or whatever. Or we possibly will have a critical needs teacher that needs to teach math at a school because they're qualified to teach math and we don't have anyone else to do that. I think that the people who have come and, like Matt said, helped us out in our hour of need as a district and have started the process already and are deep into that process, I think that we have a responsibility to at least help them in that sense, to where their pay cut isn't as large, because I would like to see the district get to a point where if we need a fourth grade teacher for a class, it's a certified teacher. We're not having to use long-term subs anymore to teach a fourth grade class. We're not having to hire a critical needs teacher making way more money than a newer teacher to teach a math class or to teach whatever class it is, because we don't have qualified people to take that class. And so that's really why I'm looking at that too and thinking that it's important that we at least, they've made the investment into the district, into themselves, that we invest a little bit back into them in that sense. And because it will end up paying dividends to us in the future.
Niman, do you want to go?
Okay.
You haven't spent a whole
All right,
lot.
well,
Go ahead.
I will jump in on this. I wonder if what we could do is where we have a potentially, a pay cut in a couple different, in all four policies that are proposed, and two of the policies have an effective date for the pay cut, which would be July 1st, 2026. I wonder if we could, for those who have been here and are already in an ARL program, and they can provide evidence that that is the case. If we say 1 year from July 1, 2026, we want you to have your degree. And at that point, you would come in as a full-time teacher with a full-time teaching, wage. But we give them 1 year. And whether we decide those who can prove that they have already been in a program and they will be completed, I guess I should state that, they will have completed that ARL by July 1st, 2027, that we either guarantee them the pay they have now, or we say the pay cut will be this. And for 1 year, if you are still a full-time substitute in a classroom for the full year, you'll have to take that pay cut, but you will be, you will have then completed your degree by 2027, and you'll be eligible to be a full-time teacher, not a full-time substitute. So I'm just wondering if that might be an option to look at, because every year I have sat on this board and every convention I go to, whether I'm talking to people in Nevada or other states, everyone's like, we're short teachers, we're short teachers, we're short teachers. And nationwide, we have a teacher shortage. So we do not want to be short-sighted on this. Yes, we have to save money. Yes, there are going to be cuts. Yes, there are going to be challenges. But we want to do something to offer an opportunity for those who have been here, who are committed, and who could make that happen in whatever time frame. I'm suggesting a year, that we're not shutting off our teacher pipeline for growing our teachers locally. So that's my thought and suggestion, whatever we want to do with numbers, but maybe put a time limit of those who have proof that they are already in that program and they have 1 year to complete it.
Thank you. I'd like to jump in here with a couple comments. First of all, to all the subs, long-term and otherwise, that are here and that are watching, it breaks my heart they have to talk about and have you sit here and hear whether you'll be here next year or not. I mean, I hate hearing that thrown around so cavalierly, but we have to. That's what we're talking about right now. That being said, I think it would be irresponsible of us as a board to not go to pay averages that match the average in the state. We don't have the luxury of paying extra. I think option B is a good one, because then we do keep our promise that we've made to folks to be able to finish out the year at their current rate of pay. But beyond that, I just really think that the responsible thing to do is to get ourselves in a financial position that is on par or level with other areas in the state. And I think that does it. In discussing, my daughter substitute teachers quite a bit, and when I told her our rates, her eyes lit up. And we use those rates for a position that we were in previously, but we're not in that position now. We are in one where we need to cut wherever we can, and this to me is a clear thing that if we send the message by adding extra money to that or going above average, it sends a message that we're not taking the budget seriously. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Do we know what the cost would be if, say, Teresa's proposal was on the table?
No, we'd have to calculate. I mean, if you made a motion and passed something with some sort of adjustment to, let's just say, version B as along the lines of what you're saying, at the next meeting, I would just report back to you what that means from a decreased projected cost saving standpoint. And unless you didn't want to move forward until we calculate that, but I do not have that number for you. We would have to figure out who each of those are, because as Cody said, we don't know who all of them are. We know the ones that are with like our district affiliated programs with UNLV, but if someone just on their own is out there online with Western Governors or Grand Canyon or something, and there's been no reason to tell us about it, then we won't know about it. And so we would have to poll every long-term sub, and we would also try to find out, you're talking about 1 year, you're talking about for 2, 3 into perpetuity until they get it done. Like, I mean, those are all different proposals, and I wouldn't even know how to begin to calculate those right now. So
I would also add that's something that we're not currently tracking right now. So we're talking about creating a whole new
yeah,
program.
certain ones are easier to figure out than others if they're enrolled in a certain program, or if they're a para plus one, or I mean we have a bunch of different pathways, and not all of them involve long-term subs. There are other people out there doing it too that aren't long-term.
I think staff, I think we should show a preference to folks who are in that program, but I think anything beyond that becomes an extra hardship for staff to create we'd have to create a whole matrix of how long, and this discussion could go on forever.
Yeah, I think it could, and it shouldn't. I think we should come up with
And
something.
the whole purpose of this was savings.
Yep.
There's no other.
Yep. I really want to reiterate the idea of we had a temporary solution to a temporary problem about 4 years ago, and we utilized certain funding sources, and we made it more attractive to fill the need at that time. It's not to say there isn't a need at this time, but there is less of a need, and it served its purpose, and that's why I'm recommending B, is because I think we are no longer trying to fill 100 vacancies. We are trying to pare down to what our enrollment is, and that's a different situation to be in. So I don't think using a strategy when you're trying to recruit people is the same as a strategy when you're trying to save and get down to what enrollment is.
Mr. Chair, I like what Teresa was saying. I would like to modify it slightly. And I think I'm prepared to make a motion that would require an amendment to the policy. And I'd like to, I'm just going to make the motion. And if it dies for lack of second, it dies for lack of second. But I would request that we allow some discussion. I don't even know if we can do this. So, I'm just going to make the motion. Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt option B with the amendment that any current long-term sub who as of 9/1/26 was enrolled in a program.
25.
Thank you. 9/1/25, I stand corrected, was enrolled in a program that will lead to certification will be paid at the rate of $286, provided that, one, they prove that they are making continual progress by earning no less than 6 credits per semester or equivalent, and two, they complete the program no later than July 1, 2028.
To give them 2 years.
To give them 2 years. Because 1 year I appreciate, but for a full-time person, that can be difficult.
I shouldn't have spoken up. I think you need to do a second before we talk anymore.
All right. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion?
Thank you. I'm happy to try to explain that because I know we wordsmithed that on the fly and nobody can see that. I do have it written down if it does get adopted, Ms. Hillary, so thank you.
So if I understand this right, then if they're currently a long-term sub and they are not one next year, you're still paying them? Or it's only if they're working at the?
Well, they wouldn't have a job with us next year, so we wouldn't pay them.
So only and so any day that they come in then, or any time that they're assigned as a long-term sub again?
If they can,
I'm asking, I don't know. I know if I'm asking the question, I know that people watching it, there's going to be 20 more people asking that question.
I'm going to jump in and answer that. If they're not qualified as a long-term sub, meaning they are not working 8 days or more in the same position, then they don't get long-term sub pay. They would be a regular sub, and they would get regular sub pay.
Correct. That would kind of go with that is what my thought is.
So the pay is even more intermittent then? So it could be, because right now we're going to reduce we're not, potentially there's going to be reduction in this. I have no problem talking about hypotheticals. I could, sure, so hypothetically, all things being what they are and what we've talked about and the different data we have currently, there potentially couldn't, there might not be, or there'll probably be some because of, like we've said, accidents, surgeries, pregnancies, whatever it is. But it's going to be reduced compared to what we have now anyways. And so you're saying it's going to be even more intermittent in that?
Through July 1 of 2028, yes, we would track that.
I'll say-
After, on July 2 of 2028, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everything is whatever the policy is that we adopt.
Yeah, I'll say
Well,
this.
my motion would be B.
I think that while there are many different possibilities for what someone could be doing if they are concurrently working as a sub or long-term sub and on a pathway to certification, the majority of what you guys are talking about, like you're speaking in terms of someone who is like, if I'm just going to point to Ms. Alsop because she's been here for 3 consecutive meetings at this point, and she's been very clear about her position on this. Like she's in classroom from day 1 to day 151, and that's who you're talking about. These are people who are there all day, every day. They are trying to get certified to then be contracted to be there all day, every day, and that's what you're thinking of. Yes, there are possibilities that someone could not be in that position because that isn't open to them next year, and then maybe for the first month they're a regular everyday sub and getting paid at whatever rate, and then someone goes on maternity, now they're a long-term sub for the next 3 months, and like, who knows? Any sort of arrangement could happen, but I think you're mostly just thinking in terms of who are the people that are there all day, every day from the start of school, which again, we can't predict at this point because we don't know how all the dominoes are going to fall.
But it's my understanding that currently we have 31 people who are filling a vacancy on a long-term sub basis. So I guess I could have clarified, I'm talking specifically of those 31 people.
Yeah.
If
Not
somebody
someone
is,
that did a long-term stint somewhere between August and now.
as opposed to, is that what you said?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to clarify. So somebody that said they came in October and did through December, but they're no longer there anymore.
And
This amendment doesn't apply to them then?
Correct. That's what my intent would be. And so if we need to continue smithing that, I'm happy to do that. If somebody started a program with WGU last January, is not currently employed with us, starts tomorrow because somebody went on maternity leave and is going to continue for the rest of the school year, I'm not anticipating they would get this rate. This is the current 31 employees, and we can, are they employees?
What was, well, I don't know. Do they
They're
classify as employees,
employed,
Cody?
so are they,
Yeah.
whatever the classification is.
They're at-will
at-will
employees. I guess we already said that earlier. They're
At-will employees,
yeah.
So did your wording say currently serving as long-term substitutes? Is that how you phrased it? I'm
I
trying to
said
remember what your
any
wording was.
current long-term sub
Okay,
who as
so-
of 9/1.
And you would need to change that date because school didn't start on 9/1.
And I threw it out of date, so I'm happy to amend that as needed
And I'm
too.
not comfortable with all of that and approving something, and I don't know how much money, that's the difference of what we're gonna have to come up with. Like, that just seems.
Yeah, it seems like if this was
a
for
mess.
financials, we should probably have financials in front of us.
Sure.
I
And
think that-
I respect that and I understand that. The reason, and somebody, and I apologize for only listening with 3/4 of an ear while I was trying to type an amendment on the fly, somebody said that we're looking at this because of a budgetary standpoint. Absolutely, we are. We could pass this at the most stringent amount. We're still not going to solve the budget. We are going to have to be doing something different anyways. So whether I think I'm reading this right, whether that means that now we have to find an additional, I guess it's $600,000 if 8 people are paid at the lowest or the highest rate, we're going to have to find money anyways. So I get that, and I'm not trying to be blasé and say, oh, it's only $600,000. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying it doesn't matter what we pass on this, we will be finding other solutions. And as we're finding other solutions, I mean, if that means that we re-enter negotiations and we say, great, we're going to have an overall 2% decrease in pay. If that happens, I'd love to see it based on percentile, the lowest people getting paid, maybe they only lose 0.2%. What's that?
So let's get back to this.
So anyways, as we move through that, we're going to have to find other money anyways. That's why I was looking at, let's find a way to protect. I don't want to say protect because that sounds like we're playing favorites. Let's support those who are supporting us while still ensuring accountability.
Matt, nobody's questioning your, it's okay. Like, and I want them to know too, 'cause, again, she's been here for the whole time. Like, I'm not questioning like their ability. I'm not questioning your ability. But again, we have tough decisions. Just like all the tough stuff we've had to do, we have to have hard conversations. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't put down, the possibilities that we're not talking about, the possibility that they will stay and the possibility that there would actually be a position to as well. So you've added an amendment to something that there's no guarantee that it's even going to be there either. So, so that we have all of the things there too, and we're all thinking about it as we go forward. So with that in mind, I'd just like to call the question so we can move on.
All right, let's do that. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. If we could, I'll restate that motion was for option B, and if you could fill in the rest.
With the amendment that any current long-term sub who as of September 1, 2025 was enrolled in a program that will lead to certification will be paid at the rate of $286, provided that, 1, they prove that they are making continual progress by earning no less than 6 credits per semester or equivalent, and 2, they complete the program no later than July 1, 2028.
All right, and that is the motion on the table. All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Chair votes nay.
As we continue, a current contracted employee that is going through ARL, do we have any that are contracted that have an ARL?
Yeah, if so, there's a grow your own solution that we call a para plus one. So that would be someone who is a paraprofessional and contracted and also getting their certification. So that could be someone who's contracted.
But they're not considered a long-term sub. So this would not impact them with the current policy that we're looking at.
Cody.
Mr. Chair, if I may. No, it does not. It would not. This does not impact them. I also think there's some confusion with the ARL statement. ARL is an alternate route to licensing. Those are people that have bachelor's degrees and they are
not in a program.
Full license. So ARL is not the correct term to use when we're talking about pathways to licensure. It is a pathway to licensure, but it's not for the specific thing. It's for people that already have a bachelor's degree and they receive a teaching license from the Department of Ed, not a sub-license.
Okay, and so if I recall correctly, I asked about ARL under contract. What about people that are going through a program? Do we have anybody that is undergoing a program that is also under contract?
We have lots of people that are under a program that are classified employees. They're paraprofessionals or secretaries. I haven't checked on custodians. I don't know if we have any custodians, but it's a little misleading when you say contract because classifieds don't get contracts. But we do have full-time employees that are not substitute teachers that are in a pathway to licensure. I'd say probably most of them that we have in pathways to licensures are paraprofessionals.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
Let's keep our discussion to this is the substitute teachers for now.
And that's all I was clarifying. I received an email and said, what about us? So I just was clarifying that. Thank you.
All right, how would the board like to proceed here?
I am not quite sure how to make the motion, but I mean, just pushing this out 2 weeks and just looking at the data that would go along with this of how many teachers that were in a pathway to licensure at the beginning of the school year, how many teachers fall into that group, permanent substitutes that have been like assigned a class, not one that's taken over for maternity leave for someone or because someone was out because of surgery or whatever, but a teacher that was assigned a class is
there's
going down that pathway could we take 2 weeks until the next board meeting to gather that information and just see? Because I guarantee they're all watching. They're all wondering, am I gonna have a job next year? If I have a job, what's the pay gonna look like? They're all watching. I guarantee you could get that feedback from them pretty quickly. We could get that data pretty quickly and at least have those numbers to look at because yes, this is a budget item. We need to look at the numbers. We need to look at whatever policy we decide to go with. What's the savings?
Yeah,
Is it
so-
worth doing that or not? But I just still feel like, we as a district should really be aiming towards not having permanent substitutes and critical needs teachers teaching classes.
If we do that, my suggestion would be we choose tonight a date. Because if we get the data and then we arbitrarily choose a date, we've tainted the pool. Because if we've got 7 different people and they've started at 7 different times, we're going to pick a cutoff date. Some are going to be on one side or the other. And I want us to be as arbitrary as possible and say, this is the date we're picking. And if you let us know, if you're one of the 31, let us know, are you in a program by this date?
And I would also like to know, do you anticipate being able to complete that program in 1 year or 2 years? Just to see, because I don't want to stretch this out forever either. And when I was giving my ideas, I don't want this to be something that rolls on for 6 years while people long-term sub and whatever
agree.
else. Yeah, there needs to be some guardrails on this. There needs to be deadlines. There needs to be, you have to have been in the program by this date. You have to know that you have to complete it by this date. Who falls into that category?
So I'll just, couple answers to your question. There's no harm in taking more time. Well, I say there's no harm. People will wonder as we continue to wait. 2 weeks would occur in West Wendover. And so if you feel like it's appropriate to make this decision while we're not in Elko, then I guess that's something to consider.
Can I
And-
interject there though too? We're within the legal timeline. We could put this on next week's.
I will not have data for you
No.
that quickly.
Would you have? Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right.
Nope. And I mean, for me, it'll just be a delay in knowing what measure of savings we're going to get from this, because no matter whatever changes get made and reductions to positions, that's going to happen independent of this. And so, yeah, it would just be a matter of knowing how much savings we anticipate coming and delaying the ability to search for other options to supplement that. Go ahead.
I just need to clarify those 31 positions. Are every one of those 31 positions long-term subs who started day 1 in the classroom and will finish the last day of school? Or are some of those long-term subs of that 31, they've been intermittent?
I don't know.
So every one of those 31 has had a class all year long? Okay, that was, because I feel like that's what the board is asking about, and I wanted to just clarify. So
And a lot of those are in a pathway of some sort. They're not all in, no, because what I want to point out is there are certain people that'll be impacted differently by this. Some people have to be employed as a long-term sub in a classroom because of the program that they're in. Other people do not have to be employed as a long-term sub in a classroom to continue in their degree. And so there are certain people that will be more negatively impacted than others by this. And so I just want to make sure that's clear too. I anticipate many of the 31 will fit the criteria you're talking about. Not all of the 31 will have their degree pathway negatively affected because of this.
I think I should also throw out just a precedence that's being set currently. How many more special accommodations, thank you so much, are we going to make as we go through this? Is every single one of them going to be, or is it going to be, are we going to constantly have to debate about special accommodations for every single thing that we're doing? It makes it tedious. And it makes it difficult, not just on this side, but for folks to look. If we were just to walk up and say, hey, listen, I looked at all 4 of you guys and I loved 2. And I'm going to make a motion, and then we all passed it, it'd be done. And we'd all be breathing. And they would go, well, that stinks, but I understand they're making difficult decisions, and we move on. But if we're constantly making accommodations, it muddies the water for everything. So now we've made accommodations for this, and then the next thing on the list, we're gonna have to make accommodations for that, and then accommodations for the next one. It's gonna be a constant. Should we be looking at everything? Absolutely. But do we need to constantly make if we constantly make accommodations, we're setting the precedence that everybody's getting everything, and before you know it, the savings that we've been told is gonna go from what we've been told we need to next to nothing, because we're constantly making accommodations. I just wanna warn the board. I understand we need to have debate, we need to talk, people need to understand that we are consciously thinking about this, that we are looking at this, that we're having this, we need to have some discussion on this. But if we're always making accommodations for everything, the savings that we've been told that we're gonna have, they're not gonna be there. So just be careful with it.
Yeah, if I can make two more comments, something else to consider is Cassie needs to have the tentative budget done by March 25th. So if we don't have a decision by then we don't, or really before then, so we can do the calculations, then we will have an inaccurate tentative budget. And then I would just say I'm going to include myself in it. We are all very nice people. I know some people are upset with things that are going on, but there are, and I'm going to include Adriana even though she's not here today, there are 8 people that sit up here, 9 with Hillary, that have really wonderful hearts and care about people very much. I think, not that we shouldn't care, but I think we're really complicating something, and the more nuanced and stringent and oddly worded you make a policy, the more complicated it's going to be and the more difficult this is going to be. I don't have a vote, but it is my duty to recommend to you that we do not muddy this any more than it currently is. I think, I'm going to reiterate again, I think you should go with option B, but I will do whatever we have to do that I'm directed to do based off of how you vote. So I'm going to bring it back to that.
All right, board, where are we headed?
So with everything that we have discussed and, potential for, we need to save somewhere. I do think it's important with any of these policies that we have an effective, we have contracted for a certain amount this year, that we make sure whatever we choose to do, that pay is the same throughout this year. And my suggestion of giving those people a year at a reduced rate and then know that they would have their licensure done after that. Reality is, I guess, if they are going to complete that in a year and they are able to come back, then we wouldn't necessarily need to have that in the policy. So I am grateful for the people who have stepped in when we needed them. And I know there will come a time again when we're gonna say we are having a teacher shortage again. But with that being said, I will just go out on a limb, and as challenging as this is, I move that we accept policy GDB02 B.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm voting against this, not because I don't think that this is where we need to go, but because I think we need to support those that are in there. So I want to be very clear. I'd rather this than a worse one, but it's not because I don't support what the concept is.
I'd like to say too, I don't think it's supporting people who've supported us, but I also think by modifying the policy a little bit more, it actually ultimately ends up supporting the district because we end up with more certified teachers in classrooms. I hate to see classrooms filled with critical needs teachers that cost us more and unlicensed teachers that are just in there as permanent subs, so.
And I'm sorry we've come to this point where we have to make these kind of decisions.
And I will just add that, unfortunately, there's no guarantee that our long-term subs who have definitely, taken an important role in our district are going to have a job next year because another teacher may take that job. So as much as I hate to say that and as much as I am grateful for what they've done, if this is a cost savings measure that we have to take, then I think we're going to have to start with some hard decisions and make one tonight. We've got more to make next week. And like I say, if there was a guarantee that every one of these teachers was going to come back next year and we had a spot for them, then making changes to the policy makes sense to me. But the more we have talked, I realize that that's really just kind of out there. We have no idea if our long-term subs who have dedicated time and and their heart and everything else to the district, if they will indeed have a job. So that's why I opted to go ahead and make the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. On this one, I'm going to ask, in addition to a vocal vote, we do a raise a hand as well to make that easy to discern where we're at. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
All right, that's 4 votes for. The motion passes. We'll be taking option B. Moving on to item 4.06, review, discussion, and possible action regarding pause of textbook adoptions for possible action.
Point of order, Mr. President. Would it be possible to do a 10-minute break, just restroom break or?
We're at 8:10. Yeah, we've been in for that much. Let's go ahead and we'll take a little recess. So let's do 5 though. We'll call it at 8:15.
8:15, that's 3 minutes.
All right, well, that clock's fast. I got 8:10 on my. Yeah. We'll make it a reasonable amount of time. And as soon as everybody's back, we'll get it started. Good to go? All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Elko County Board of Trustees back to order. We are on agenda item 4.06, review, discussion, and possible action regarding pause of textbook adoptions for possible action. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. So as I forgot to bring it back. Okay, sorry. I look like a homeless person over here. I apologize.
No.
No offense to homeless people. As I mentioned, because annual textbook adoptions to a certain extent were part of our strategic plan and everything, in order for us to pause this for next year, I'm seeking your official approval to no longer do that, at least for next year. And as part of this, we will also come up with some alternative rotations, because as we all know, everything we're doing here this isn't a one-time fix, and all of a sudden, ta-da, we anticipate continuing to have to make changes going into the future. So we'll come up with some other possibilities, but seeking your approval to change the plan.
Mr. Chair, I move that we pause textbook adoptions for the coming year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. When do we get, well, I guess when do we get a report back? Like when, like, so we're saying next year we're not doing it? Do we need to set a date for it? Like, how does that work?
I don't have a date in mind of when I would tell you.
Okay.
If you'd like to make some suggestions, a time, we would like to know by the beginning of next year, or I don't know, you could do that. We don't need to wrap it up in the motion necessarily, but if you just let me know kind of what sort of a timeline you'd like, then we can try to work on that.
Basically, this is not going in the budget for next year, but it would hypothetically go in the budget the year after.
If it's just a one-year pause, then yes.
And normally we start reviewing that budget, or at least the budget is due by March 30. What was the date?
Usually
I'm
the first
sorry.
meeting in April is when we typically present the tentative budget.
I need the tentative budget completed by March 25th. Right now, as I have it, I do not have the textbook adoption, and I am really hesitant on the way things are going on having a date at this point, because we can't.
They're asking about for next year's budget. Like the April of 27 budget, I think is what they're talking about.
FY27, I
No.
currently,
FY28. They're saying if we pause next year, when would we need to know for the year after that one? I think is what they're
tentative
asking about.
budget's due April 15th,
Yeah.
so depending on the board meeting.
Usually the first meeting in April is when we do that.
In 1 year, can we please have an update as to whether or not we're going to need to pause it again?
I will let you know in less than 1 year.
First meeting in March would be no later than the first meeting in
Okay.
March.
No,
Yeah, I just-
what was, sorry,
No, go ahead.
what was the next textbook coming up?
I mean,
I can't remember.
social
Social
studies
studies,
is long overdue. It's also
Yeah.
it's also challenging
Tomorrow.
because the larger the curriculum adoption, the more money it costs, right? And we've done we've done 3 years of back-to-back big ones with math and science. Anyway, yeah, we were tentatively trying to do social studies, probably broken up over the course of 2 years, because it's just very expensive to do a full curriculum adoption for one of the 4 core content areas.
Thank you.
All right, board, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All right, the motion is to pause textbook adoptions. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, moving on to item 5.01, the superintendent's report. Mr. Anderson.
Yep. Talking again here. Thank you again. I know last time around I just declined to speak much, and I'm probably not going to say too much more either. I've talked a lot tonight, and I feel like I can't say it enough. Not one of these decisions is easy. And I mentioned earlier that we have not sat around and done nothing for the last 3 years. We have reduced positions with enrollment. We have cut programs. We have been trying to trim away everything we can without drastically altering the landscape of our staff and our programming. but the declining enrollment has outrun it's outkicked the coverage, so to speak, using the football term. And so more drastic measures are having to be taken now. I don't like anything that we're having to do. So they're all just tough decisions, and I appreciate everyone who has. I've received an outpouring of support recently, and I really appreciate that from people. That includes board members, it includes public, it includes friends, it includes people I've never talked to before they reached out to me. And so I really appreciate that. None of this is easy, and you know, the hardest stuff I've had to do career-wise, other than see a student die. That's probably the worst thing I've had to endure as an educator, and this is right up there with that. These are really challenging things, and so I just want to reiterate that, and I do speak candidly about what I believe has to happen, but it does not mean that anything here is taken lightly, and that I have not thought of so many ways that it's going to impact people, and I feel that pretty deeply. The other things I want to just mention to you, since some stuff has happened. Let's see. I was honored to go speak at, and I will qualify this because I'm sure it'll get brought up, but at no cost to the district, I was honored to go speak at the Summit on Education in Nevada at UNLV a few weeks ago, alongside our chancellor and our state superintendent, as well as Clark County District Superintendent Joe Niebert, about the challenges we're facing, both financially and from an innovation standpoint, and the things we can do as a state to improve overall. Because as we keep talking about here, even though we're trying to find local solutions, much of this stems from state challenges and problems and inefficiencies and just the way the system is structured. And so not skirting accountability for how we've adapted to that, but recognizing that there are challenges, that there are circumstances that contribute to where we are. So that was a good opportunity, and I was grateful to be, I considered myself the runt of the litter alongside those other three impressive professionals, and it was great to be there. We had a great playground dedication at Carlin. Was that last week? That was last week. Yeah, that was awesome. A shining example of how the school district and the community partners and just members of the community generally can all work together to come up with solutions for such an issue as a playground that needs some repair. Because as we are experiencing budget problems, we can't spare general fund money for playgrounds. Spring Creek Elementary was another great example of that a few years ago. So kudos to them, and it's happening other places too. Wells showed us a great example with their track, and keep trying to highlight those. But super grateful to Nevada Gold Mines and especially their folks at the Carlin complex for how they stepped up. It took a while for us to get it to dedication, but it was great. It was a great event. So many people in attendance, and thanks to our board members who were able to make it. Sorry to those of you who weren't. You missed. It was great. Kids were out there playing while we were dedicating. It was wonderful, and they were already speaking about what's the next phase they could do to help out. So, really great community involvement. And then I just want to highlight, it's attached to this agenda item, but there's something called the Success Summit. I know each of you received an email from Heather Steele about this, but this is something we're piloting at a couple campuses this year. At least I think there's two. It's called the Spring Creek High School Success Summit, and it's a great way to try to create coherence between the middle school and the high school for when kids are transitioning from there to really have a good idea of what what options are available to them, how they can see themselves within that structure of not just electives, but like career pathways and CTE programs. And I think it's a neat idea. I love that Heather, she kind of dreamed this up a little while ago, and I said, hold your horses. We can't just do this district-wide right away. We need to try it out. So this is a tryout, a little trial basis for this, and I think it's going to be awesome. So if you're able to make it on Wednesday, the 18th, it's the day after our Wendover board meeting. You should go. And I'll leave it at that because I know we're going to be meeting again soon here. Thank you for your thoughtful deliberations. I know, just like we disagree about different things and we have different opinions and we have different solutions to problems, and that's okay. That's how it ought to be. But nobody threw anything. Nobody yelled at each other yet. And I have a feeling we'll all, still know that each other cares about what we're doing up here. So let's keep doing this in a civil manner and in a way that uplifts one another moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Anderson. Moving on here now to item 6.01, a NASB update. We'll start.
I don't have anything at this time.
Don't have anything?
Well, actually, I take that back.
Okay.
Sorry, I guess I do. I did check with Rick, so that you all know. I talked with him about doing some kind of template letter to send to the legislative people, because like to put on our website or something to make it easier for the public, because I know sometimes you don't know quite what to say, or you just don't want to take the time to do it. You don't have the time. So I spoke with him about possibly drafting some kind of template that the whole state can use, but that we could use to send to the public. So I wrote myself a little note just to get back with him on and check on that, because that was a week or so ago.
I think it's a good idea. That would help us also align with the legislative goals that we
Yeah.
set forth in NASB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my update.
All right. I'll throw one in there too regarding NASB. I was able to attend the board presidents workshop. And we had 14 out of the 17 board presidents from the state in attendance there. We met at the Workforce Services Building, beautiful building in Las Vegas. And it was a great discussion. We were all on the same page regarding budget. That seemed to dominate the discussion. I'll just cover a couple things though. One of the big things we stressed was to keep governance focused on students. Was a reminder to, as we're setting agendas, as we're setting goals, as we're doing those things, focus on the students. That's why we're here. And doing all these jobs, whether it's us sitting up here with you folks out here, it all takes courage. It takes courage to get up on that microphone and talk. It takes courage to write your legislators. It takes courage to attend these meetings, to study. And I just appreciate everybody for showing that and for showing up. It had me set a few goals. It was a 60-day goal for myself to help improve the board. And I'll share on that is what I had come up with. And they had some guidelines, but my first one was reaching out to others to make sure that I answer all my emails, and not just as a filler or a form, but to concisely try, read the emails and make sure that I address what's in them. My second one, and I just did it right there, is to stop using filler words. I was watching my first performance as board president. I've never run meetings before. I did one before, but before that, I didn't. I noticed I was saying and all that a lot. So I think that would help things run smoother. And the last goal I had was to talk to the board, and not about policy or about discussions or anything, but just to get to know you folks a little better. I'm far away. I'm an hour and a half away, but watch throughout the year if I invite you to lunch or out for something. It's just to see how you are and how things are going, and not with the district, to just build better relationships. So those were some of the messages that were presented there in that board president's workshop, and I was thankful to be able to go to that. And that's all I had regarding NASB. And moving on, we're going to go to 6.02, items from board members. I'm going to talk about that real quick, just based on some legal advice and what we've gotten regarding open meeting law, is we need to keep this section for it's not for discussion, it's for statements, it's things you want to bring up regarding if you want to see future agenda items or if you want to say thank you to somebody. But I'm not going to go down the line. If you have something to say, we can say it. It's just, I want to point out that it's not something that we're here to like ask questions right now or to have discussion. This is just to make our statements. So I will start with it and just saying, I want to thank everybody for coming out, like I said before, and contributing to this meeting. And that's all I have on my items. Does anybody else have anything? Go ahead.
I would like to propose an agenda item that we draft a letter as a board to our Nevada representatives about the funding and the state of funding and the funding formula for the pupil-centered funding plan. And I too would like to thank all the staff that have worked so hard. And then everyone else that has emailed and that I've seen at a school or seen out or whatever, just thank you for all your thoughtful comments and suggestions, because so many of those I'm like, wow, that's a creative idea, or I hadn't thought of that. So I really appreciate those. I don't think of them as a nuisance or anything. They've really been informative, so I've appreciated those. And I took our visiting author for Reading Week, Brad Herzog. I took him around to Northside and Jackpot yesterday and Owyhee and Carlin today. And all the schools, there was such a good audience, and it was fun to see them with the author. And, you know, a few in Owyhee wanted to sign their shirt. And, you know, it was just, and they had made all these signs, and it was just wonderful. So continued reading this week for Reading Week. 100 Day was today, and so Carlin, they were all dressed like old people.
100 years old.
Yeah, I told them, I look good for 100, don't I? And they looked at me like, yeah. I'm like, well, okay. So they think I'm 100, but that's okay. So it was a good time. And the Carlin Playground, same thing. Thank you to everyone. When you come together, you get so much more done. And I feel that's happening even with the budget now too. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Couple of quick things. Anybody that sends me an email should get a bounce back that says, I don't check this email very often, so if you want me, call me. And I also now am deferring most of the emails, especially if it's a board-centered email. I'm deferring back to our president to respond to. That's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because we have one board president, and so I'm leaving that to that discretion. If it's an individual email, I will try to answer it, but just wanted to, I got questions on that as to why I was responding and now I've stopped responding. Because we have a board president that does that, or at least that, you know, has indicated that he's doing that. So I am going to request, I don't know what the formal way of doing this, but along the lines of what Brooke said previously this evening, I'm going to request that a declaration of fiscal emergency be declared. And if that's possible to do it on the March 10th, 2026 meeting, I would like that done then. Finally, I've been asked what the trustees are doing to try to help with the budget, what we're doing personally. We do get a stipend, we do get paid. It's paid under, or it's required under NRS. We can't change NRS. We can't fix that. And when I've asked about how do we reject our other benefits, well, as an employee, we don't have a policy of how an employee rejects benefits, and we're an employee. So without us doing, I guess, a policy that would create a completely different category of employee for trustees, I really don't know what we can do. But I just wanted to let the audience know and let the public know. Yeah, I've tried looking into it. There's not a lot that we can do, but you know, if we can continue working on that personally with what the benefits and salary are, then I'll continue to try to look into a solution there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything further?
I'll go. Mine's just a big thank you to everyone. I do read every email that comes in. Sometimes emails come in right before board meetings and I don't get to them before the board meeting, but I do read every email that comes in. I don't respond to many people because I'm just busy enough. I don't have time to respond to a lot of people. But I just want to thank everyone for the text messages, the phone calls, stopping me in town when they see me, trusting me enough to tell me how they really feel about things, and sharing their perspective and opinions with me, whether they're in line with what I think and what I've shared in board meetings or not. And then I also just want to thank CJ and our district staff up here. They've been amazing, and CJ will probably shake his head. I send him a list of questions that I have just to make sure that I kind of have my head wrapped around these different agenda items, and he's really good at making time to meet with me and answer all of my questions, and same with district staff, other district staff here. Several of you have taken time to meet with me until 2 minutes before the board meeting starts, and so I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to give us as board members everything that we need so we can make the best decisions possible. And that's all.
And I'll be brief. We've got tough decisions. That's why we're here. We're going to make them. And happy reading week. Take time to read with your student. Take time to read as a family. Take time to read as an individual. Reading has a big impact on you as a person, and it can have a big impact on your community. So take some time to read this week, and always.
A couple things written down. So first one is I will not be able to attend the capital projects meeting next week. They put it on a Monday in my busiest time, so there's no way I can move people around, so I apologize for that. But I know it's well attended by district staff, so we'll be represented there okay. The other one was, I just wrote it down. Matt, what are we doing? We can't financially do what you're talking about. Matter of fact, most of our monies, if you're getting the benefits, they cover the benefits that we, if you're using district benefits, right? So the insurance, it covers that. Maybe get a couple $100, I guess. We could give that back. So times 7, $1,400, that might go a long ways. What are we doing? 27 emails in my inbox every other day. Stopped on the street. Stopped in my clinic. So what are we doing? We're doing everything that we possibly can do to try and make conscious decisions here. So yeah. So I would just say that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the least amount of negative impact on here with the information we're given. So. Other one, had the pleasure of reading today. Wow, that was fun. And with a fun one, to Mrs. Martin's class, she was very gracious. Handed me this book, tried to get me in tongue twisters, instructed her students to try and get me in tongue twisters. Dr. Seuss, moose with a mustache? No, moustache. That was crazy sauce. So spent this is an hour. I don't want to sound like it, but it was so fun. I had so much fun. And the kids were engaging. They're fantastic. And so that was really, really, really fun. And I kind of wish I would do it more often, but it's just tough with my schedule. So, and with that, I think that I'll rest, as Mr. McCarty used to say.
All right, thank you, everyone. We will now move on to item 7.01, input from the public. I'm not going to reread the entire statement, but it is 3 minutes and so on. Is there anybody who would like to make public comment? All right, seeing none, we will move to item 8.01, adjournment of the meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.